games. And obviously, those are big TV draws, and they sell ad revenue. I mean, they want to be made whole financially and contractually for allowing that to happen. And as we said, we talked to Ross Dellinger. He talked about game swaps. Being able to the SEC will now air every game Texas and Oklahoma play starting in 2024 now. It was supposed to be 2025. Now it's 2024. So, Texas, they're going to get what they want. But at the same time, they had to give up something to get that, which...
Yeah, Fox wanted that Michigan. That little mini-series is big for them.
Yeah.
As you say, inventory and what you talk about advertisers.
Millions and millions of dollars. I mean,
yeah.
And we know on the existing future schedules, Texas was going to play a home-and-home with the Michigan Wolverines in 2024 and 27. The first one was going to be here. And I know Texas and, officials down there were excited because, look, Texas hadn't played Michigan since the Rose Bowl of 2004. The 1 year ahead of winning the national championship when they beat USC. And so it was going to be kind of a 20-year anniversary kind of thing and host it here and play Michigan, Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines, 2 times the defending Big 12 champions at this point, and who knows what's coming up this year. So that was going to be a huge game. But that was the concession, that now Texas will play that game in Ann Arbor. It will be on Fox. And we don't know if that's the only, game swap that there will be in concession to Fox. There could be others. There's been talk that, Texas gives up the Michigan game here and ESPN gives that game up to Fox Television. Oklahoma is probably going to have to give up something with Fox. Which there have been talk of maybe Oklahoma doubling back in the coming years and playing former Big 12 teams, maybe even like Oklahoma State in like a last Bedlam kind of game that could be played on Fox. And it would be Fox TV. It would do big ratings and all of those things, which would be pretty interesting. But again, you had to make Fox whole. And again, as we talked about, 2024 is the year where everything aligns now. Texas and Oklahoma will now officially move to the Southeastern Conference. USC and UCLA will officially move to the Big Ten, and the 12-team playoff will come online. We'll go from 4 teams that make the playoff to 12, and then so the TV networks can now prepare for that. The other part of the agreement coming down yesterday, and I believe and have been told another reason that the Big 12 wanted this thing to get done and wanted to find an agreement with Fox, is they want to be aggressive and continue to grow. They're not going to sit at 12, I don't believe.
Oh, no.
And I think it was interesting. I was texting with some folks last night. It's interesting that the news was out yesterday that the current Pac-12 commissioner, George Kliavkoff, was visiting with SMU. He was in Dallas to talk to SMU about, because all of a sudden, because the Pac-12 is in disarray, the remaining 10 members with USC and UCLA leaving, at last report, they have a new contract on the table that 4 of the schools have agreed to sign. The other 6 have said, no way, we're not signing that, which, means they're not happy with what that contract would be without USC and UCLA. So vis-a-vis that, now all of a sudden George Kliavkoff is being aggressive, talking to Boise State, talking to potentially Gonzaga as a basketball-only member.
Yeah, but
talking to SMU,
but
talking to San Diego State.
You see them doing that because they're not. Those are not to try to keep the ones that that want to get out of there, or the Big Ten may come after. That's just trying to build his brand. Well, they don't want that to disappear.
He's trying to act aggressive.
Yeah,
because he knows. Look, if you have 6 of your schools who are unwilling to sign the contract you negotiated with your TV partners, you've got to do something. So he's being aggressive. He's talking to SMU, San Diego State, Gonzaga. Well,
but that's not going to save the Oregons and Washingtons from leaving them.
Well, the Oregons and Washingtons are among the 6 that won't vote for the current deal.
They're going to be, when that time comes, and if the Big Ten wants them, they're going to be gone.
Well, the time is now. That's the whole thing. So he's out trying to sweeten the pot for the 6 that are unhappy. Find what SMU does nothing to move the needle, but he's trying to sell the Dallas Metroplex and bring a big market, which seems out of sorts.
He can't do nothing,
right? But again, this is why the Big 12, the remaining Big 12, and Brett Yormark want to get this deal done because they want to move forward and be able to attack. Okay, let's go after the desert schools, Arizona and Arizona. Let's go after Colorado potentially because it's unstable. Let's not then let's before they would ever agree to a contract that would lock them in. Potentially get those 6 that are unhappy on board. Let's us jump in and talk about what we could look like as a 16-team Big 12 conference without Texas and Oklahoma. That would include Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado, right? And now all of a sudden there's 16 teams. The remaining Pac-10 schools at this point would probably roll into the Big 10 along with USC and UCLA. The Pac-12 or Pac-10 as we knew it would be
or they can't stand idly by. They have to do something. You're right. This is the time right now.
Right, and this is why Yormark and the Big 12 were eager to get this thing completed, make this announcement, because as I told you last week, I was told when the schedule came out, they wanted to announce this agreement, but they just had to clear the Fox hurdle. And at the end of the day, Fox kept kind of moving the goal line, and we've gotten there now.
We are over the goal line.
Over the goal line. So now we can plan, and this year will be the final. And it's just not just in football. It'll be football all through basketball, baseball.
Absolutely.
And starting July 1st of 2024, Texas, Oklahoma will join the Southeastern Conference, which will mean the SEC can now finalize their plan to, what the alignment looks like, how their schedule will play out in football and other sports. They can begin that process. And I think everyone has been working towards that. They just needed to clear the Fox hurdle, and that has been done.
Good.
All right, so a lot to get into. Jack is here. The Friday is here. The Super Bowl is in a couple days, and we're getting cranked up for
Super Sunday.
Super Sunday coming your
way. And we
way.
got a basketball game Saturday morning, as a matter of fact, though. Do we not? We got the Longhorns playing this weekend.
West Virginia.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
The Morgantowners come rolling in here.
Yeah. We'll certainly talk some Longhorn basketball. Craig Way will do the same coming up in the Craig Way Report. We'll get some B&E facts of the day. We have a producer in tow, and we're ready to roll. Let's get a quick timeout. We'll roll back and get things back to normalcy as we get you going on a Friday morning on B&E 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, streaming always on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Big news Friday on B&E. Super Bowl is Sunday. And you're still liking the Eagles by 6, is that right?
4.
4, down to 4.
Yes.
Is that because Patrick Mahomes took home the MVP last night?
No, I should have made it up to 10 because the other quarterback's going to be pissed now.
Oh man, he only
should
got
have thought
one
of it that way, but I'm going to give Patrick Mahomes the benefit of the doubt that he will be that ankle is just going to be slightly sore, but he's going to get around just fine, and his arm will make some plays that, his feet. He doesn't have to have the maneuverability to do some of the things he does with his arm, unlike a lot of other quarterbacks. But I think 4 is just about right. But that Kansas City defense better play special, because if the Eagles really get it going, and especially downhill running the ball, then I think that's a true problem for Kansas City.
Well, the more the week goes, the more I'm leaning Kansas City, because
leaning for them to win the Super Bowl.
Yep. You know what? Don't act like I'm crazy. They're 16-3.
Are you crazy?
They got the MVP playing quarterback. They got the better coach. They've got more experience in this game. The more I hear everyone picking Philadelphia, you know me, I'm a contrarian. I'm going to start to think, oh, wait a second. Why is nobody picking Kansas City? What if Patrick Mahomes is actually healthier than you think he is? Andy Reid off a bye week. I'm leaning KC to win the football game.
Yeah,
and you're giving me 1.5 to 2 points. I'll go ahead and take that.
Hell, I'm giving you 4. I think A.J. Brown, who's been quite quiet lately, is going to break out. Those rookies in that secondary, good luck trying to corral that dude.
Well, I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. The Eagles have not played a tight fourth quarter game in 6 weeks. They have not been in a high-pressure, have to have a drive, have to have a moment environment, and the Chiefs have. Chiefs are used to it. Chiefs are comfortable in that environment. I assume the Eagles will be fine, but I don't know that because we haven't seen it. They had no stress to win the they were 13-0 or whatever. They're 12-0 and then 13-1. All they had to do was win one game over their last 4 to get the top seed. They had an easy time with the Giants. They had an easy time with the Niners, who had no quarterback. They have not played a stressful game.
Yeah, that's decent when you're a pretty good team. That happens when you're good.
Well, this is the best team they've played, and I think it's the same the other way. I think it's the best team the Chiefs have played, but the Chiefs come out of a really tough division, come out of a really tough conference, and I'm going to go ahead and just be the contrarian and take the Chiefs because it's fun and Patrick Mahomes and the MVP. But I think it's going to be a great game.
2 times in 5 years. Is that 2 times in 5 or 6 years for Patrick Mahomes?
To win the MVP, 2 and 5.
2 and 5.
Yeah, 2 and 5. But he didn't start his first year. He didn't. He sat behind Alex Smith.
Yep.
In that spot. Obviously, the major news and the big news, which was bound to happen at some point. We knew. I don't want to say we knew, but the reports of last Friday were preaching gloom and doom about the pending Texas and Oklahoma move to the Southeastern Conference. Early, a year early to the contract. But that was posturing. That was negotiation. You know how that goes, Buck. Everybody steps up and we're done. We're done here talking. And everybody comes back to the table and they figure it out. And so the Texas Longhorns will leave the Big 12. So let's lay it out this way. Texas and OU, and as far as it goes for Austin, Texas, the Longhorns will play one more year in all athletics in the Big 12, starting this fall with football and the fall sports through the winter and through the spring, and then they'll be done. So we know the Longhorns are playing in a 14-team Big 12 this year. Top 2 teams will play for the Big 12 title game by percentage. They're not splitting it up in north or south or east or west.
Just goes the way it's been.
They're playing 14 teams. Longhorns know their schedule, and here we go. They'll play one more. Wouldn't it be nice if you're a Longhorn fan to go ahead and win the Big 12 on your way out? Find a way to win the Big 12 on your way out?
I think that would help the cause going into the SEC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about the no excuses year for Steve Sarkisian. There's
still the same way.
Really no reason that they shouldn't be among the top couple teams in the Big 12. I mean, we talked about this yesterday with the NFL Combine inviting, their 319 players who are going to head to the NFL get to go to the NFL Scouting Combine. They're invited in Indianapolis. Longhorns are sending 5. I mentioned this yesterday, but TCU is sending 9. So TCU are they're defending runners-up in the Big 12 to K-State, but they were arguably the best team playing for a national championship. They're going to replace their quarterback, their top running back, their top receiver, 2 top offensive linemen. their top defensive lineman, their top linebacker, and their top defensive back. K-State is going to replace Deuce Vaughn and their top defensive players. Texas comes back in whole. So the question could be, what if the Longhorns win this thing on their way out? They haven't won it in a while. They played for it a few years ago when they lost to Oklahoma.
There really isn't any excuse that they shouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, winning it is another thing, because there's a lot to winning any kind of championship, but there's no reason why they shouldn't be playing in it.
Well,
we thought that last year.
You were part of the first one.
Yes.
See, this would be symbiotic, because you were on the coaching staff when the Longhorns beat Nebraska to win the first Big 12 championship back in remind me of the year, 96, 95?
I'd say 95.
95.
95, 96.
Did you ever find that ring?
No.
No?
No.
You have a championship ring. It's beautiful.
It's somewhere.
Where is it?
It's at some pawn shop or in the bottom of my golf bag, which
Dang.
I've turned upside down a few times. Or it was in a golf cart and somebody's got that on a shelf somewhere.
So the Big 12 championship game is December the 2nd of this year. AT&T Stadium in Arlington. The top two teams by winning percentage will be there. Longhorns have as good opportunity as anybody as far as that goes, as far as talent goes, roster.
I thought last year they should have been in it.
Yeah, me too. And a couple of bad fourth quarters prevented that. And, can they take that next step with Steve Sarkisian? Obviously, a lot of pressure on – because, look, I don't think there's been a lot of pressure on Steve Sarkisian as far as expectation go in year one and then year two. I think everyone kind of understood where the program was. He was, building – and again, the two off seasons have gone great as far as recruiting classes and coaching changes and talent acquisition and transfer portal. Now it's got to show up on the football field. I mean,
for sure,
8-5, unacceptable.
I still believe
9-4, unacceptable. 9-3, unacceptable even next year.
I just believe if you don't go in there being in the championship game, I'm not saying win the championship, but being a part of a championship game, that you become Mississippi State. And people look at me like, wait a minute, you think they're good enough to be Mississippi State? I'm like, I hope so.
Sure, I think they are.
Okay, well, then they got to be in that championship game, because to me, they strolled into the SEC as a team like Mississippi State or Mississippi.
Here's what you like about it. And somebody texted and said, serendipitous, not symbiotic. Okay, perfect. Yep, serendipitous for the Longhorns to win the final Big 12 championship in the conference.
No, winning is hard, though.
Winning is hard. But, yeah, winning is hard, as Tom Herman once told us. But, there's no reason the Longhorns shouldn't be among the favorites. And, K-State, I think they're the defending champs, so they're the champs until proven otherwise. They won the Big 12 title game last December.
They returned their offensive line back.
Whole offensive line's back.
Yes.
Their quarterback is back.
Yep.
And Chris Kleiman in year 5 has a pretty good program. But Deuce Vaughn was a big part of what they do.
It's huge.
They've got some guys to replace. They're sending 7 or 8 guys to the combine as well. But, yeah, I mean, it would be serendipitous for the Longhorns to finish it off and, the opportunity there. So Longhorns will play this coming year in the spring in the Big 12, and then it's off to the SEC as of July 1 of next year. And, we start look forward to what the SEC is doing. They are working in the Southeastern Conference, Buck, on a, no division format. Like they're planning on, because here's what's going to happen. As of in 2024, July 1, the Big Ten will have 16 teams. The SEC will have 16 teams, and I don't know where the Big 12 will be. Big 12 will likely be at 12, but that's where I think the next big story will come. And
sure.
That's why I think the Big 12 was so eager to allow Texas and Oklahoma to go, take their $100 million, and that'll be mostly paid by revenue generated by ESPN. Future revenues are going to pay for a lot of that. The Big 12 wants to be aggressive and go after to try to get themselves to 16, I believe. And they see that, hey, we can land. Because remember, the initial wake of the Texas and Oklahoma announcing they're leaving, the initial fears was that the Big 12, as it was going to collapse, and they'd be gone. And then the Baylors and the TCUs and the Texas Techs were like, oh, man,
what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? And here they are on the 10th of February, feeling like, okay, we're in line to be the third conference. We're in line to.
Yes, and that's why we need Arizona State, and Colorado.
Yes, we can be the next conference, which is fine. That's where you want to be.
Sure. You want to be in the money. You want to be in the money with these TV rights.
You're never going to make what the Big Ten makes.
No.
No one is, because they have the top three or TV markets in the country that they negotiate with, and huge schools and huge fan bases. No one's going to make the revenue the Big Ten makes. SEC is going to be the best football conference and the deepest conference, and they're going to do very well. But it's not too shabby based on what the possibilities
and
were.
The kind of money that you'll make compared to what you were making.
And as I've said, I mean, the advantage the Big 12 has is if they can be aggressive and poach the likes of Arizona and Arizona State and Utah to go with BYU, who's already in the conference.
Yes, and we know,
and maybe Colorado.
Football pays the bill, but this will be a unbelievable basketball conference.
Oh, every sport.
With the addition of Cincinnati and Houston.
And you have to think of it as a TV network executive would, because if the Big 12 are able to land the desert schools, land Utah, to be a great rival with BYU, who's already coming, and potentially, Colorado. Well, now all of a sudden, Colorado's back in the conference. You've got Denver, you've got Phoenix, you've got a great rival in Utah to go with BYU. You now have 16 teams, which matches the SEC, matches the Big Ten. And again, unlike whatever people will say about the Atlantic Coast Conference and the ACC, the Big 12 would have the opportunity to play games every Saturday in every time zone.
Mm-hmm.
You have an early window at 11, you've got a 2:30 game, you've got a 6 or 7 o'clock game, and you can have a West Coast primetime game that is featuring the desert schools. BYU, Utah, Colorado, Texas Tech would be probably part of that flank of the Big 12. That is huge for revenue. That's huge for money, and it's an advantage that the Big 12 will have over the ACC or whatever's left of the Pac-12, which is going to go away because they're landlocked, and the ACC only plays in the Eastern Time Zone.
Right.
After 7 o'clock at night, they're done. I mean, they're off television. The Big 12, like the SEC or the Big 10, and then unlike the SEC, because the SEC will go no further west than Texas at that point. They'll be the westernmost school in the conference. So that's an advantage. So give the Big 12 credit. I will give the schools that were so angry, and some will say rightfully angry, when Texas and Oklahoma pulled the rug, that they've stabilized. They've put themselves in a good position. They've hired a good commissioner.
Yes, they have.
And they're in a position to be aggressive now.
He came in being aggressive.
Yeah. And we were at Big 12 Media Days last July when he pretty much opened the door to this. He said, yeah, we're open. We're open to an early exit if it's right for all parties.
Right.
If it's right for everybody, we're open to it, which was essentially saying, because, Bob Bowlesby would have or had the complete opposite tack. Oh, no, we're getting every nickel, we're getting every dollar, we're getting every year, every day out of Texas and Oklahoma. We want our pound of flesh, was kind of the mindset of the previous commissioner.
Right, and we can see that as long as Texas and Oklahoma were still in the conference, even though they were leaving, they were still the boss.
Yeah.
They still bossed the conference.
They did, and now the conference can be a conference.
Yes.
They can, because the two big bullies and, Texas and being the biggest of the bullies is gone. They can actually be a conference.
Yes.
And I think they're going to be in a very strong position. So if you're a fan of one of the other schools, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU.
Yeah, who now grabs a hold of it now? That's the thing for them.
Yeah, I think they can be aggressive and be the third big conference. And as you said, that's not just football. I mean, football is king. Football pays the bills. Football is the revenue driver.
Right.
But you're right. It'll be
the basketball conference will be incredible.
With the basketball, baseball, football,
right.
I mean, every sport, it'll be a monster conference. And the thing about adding the two desert schools, in my mind, Arizona and Arizona State, if you could do that, then Phoenix is one of the fastest growing areas of the country. I mean, that's think about that area 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's how you have to think about these things, not just now but long term. Those can become growth markets for them. Plus, you've already added Houston, which is top 4 market in the country. You've got Dallas and the Metroplex with TCU. So Big 12, I think, lands in a really good spot. And obviously for Texas and Oklahoma, they're going where they need to be. They're going to be playing with like-minded schools and playing against like-minded athletic departments.
Well, yeah, and there's no doubt about what the SEC wants. They want Texas playing Texas A&M again. That's a beauty for them.
Oh man, I mean, the rivalries are renewed with Arkansas and Texas A&M. That schedule needs to be finalized, but the reports have been the SEC will play. They're going to do a no division format, but each Texas will have 3 schools they play every year. And I'm assuming that's Oklahoma. I'm assuming that's Texas A&M. I don't know what the third one is. That would be great if it would be Arkansas. You imagine if starting in 2024,
Wow.
Texas plays OU, A&M, and Arkansas every year, and then they fill in the SEC schedule with other.
Or you're playing them or LSU.
Well, I mean, because A&M would also have 3 schools. And think about this: A&M would also have 3 schools they play every year, which could be Arkansas, LSU, and somebody else. Texas, obviously.
Yes.
Which would be fine, right? Texas doesn't need to play LSU every year. A&M wants to play LSU every year. That's fine. But they would also play Texas every year, and Texas would play OU and Arkansas. A&M would play Arkansas, LSU, and Texas. That makes some sense. They just wouldn't play OU every year. But we'll see. That schedule has to be finalized. SEC can now officially go to work on that for 20 and 24. I'm assuming it'll be announced in pretty short order, maybe by the summertime.
This is a huge year for Texas football coming up.
It is. It is.
I mean, you can't go limping into that conference.
Well, we'll get back. We got all morning to talk about it, but think about this year. Last year you had 2 freshmen on the offensive line and 2 sophomores. This year you're going to have 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, and a senior.
And by the time you roll in there, they will be grown men,
right?
Or gone men.
By the
getting
time
ready to leave.
Well, that would be the goal for Steve
Yeah.
Sarkisian. By the time you roll into the SEC, you've got a veteran, physical, experienced offensive
and
line.
you found who your quarterback will
who's
be.
your quarterback? Who's your you've got your 3rd recruiting class will be in tow, moving into the conference.
You have your coaches all lined up now.
I think the Longhorns are in line to make a good effort into the Southeastern Conference, and as we said, it would be serendipitous to win the final because
Yes.
you won the first one, and would be neat to see. All right, we'll come back. We'll pick this up. We'll hit some B&E facts of the day. We're rolling on a Friday, taking your Super Bowl picks, taking your Super Bowl prop bets. Chris Del Conte will join us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about the big announcement yesterday. It's a busy Friday here on The Horn. So breaking news Friday, including the Longhorns and Oklahoma agreeing with the Big 12 to get out of their contract 1 year early, 2024. They'll be into the SEC. Also, Super Bowl 57 is on tap. And how about the major breaking news we haven't mentioned that Quinn Ewers, the likely starting quarterback of your Texas Longhorns, is now mulletless. The hair is gone. The lettuce is no longer. Our man Quinn Ewers is going high and tight. High and tight on the haircut.
High, too.
Yeah, looking
Nice.
good.
Good job for him.
Looking good. Looking good there, Quinn. I'm looking at a picture of him while walking through the hallway there with his new look and sharp, clean, as they say.
Little change.
Little change. So Quinn Ewers without
There you go.
sans mullet. So, yeah, that came down. That's a good thing for sure. Well, it's his hair. He can do what he wants with it.
That's true.
But I think it looks better. Just my opinion. I mean, I got an opinion on it. It looks good. Looks all
Looks
grown
clean.
up
Looks
and everything.
clean. Yeah, it looks all grown up.
All grown up and everything. But yeah, Quinn Ewers killed the mullet.
And congratulations to Dak Prescott last
Yes.
night. That's a big deal.
It is. The season didn't end as the Cowboys would have wanted, but it was a good night for the Cowboys because DeMarcus Ware, the all-time sack leader in organization history, is going to the Hall of Fame on the second ballot. He didn't go in on the first, but goes in on his second opportunity. Also, Chuck Howley from the veteran side, the senior committee, he goes in. And Dak Prescott was voted the NFL's Man of the Year. The Walter Payton Award for Man of the Year.
Told you he was a nice guy. I didn't say anything about him playing a position, but I said he was a nice guy.
And speaking of looking clean, his suit was sharp. What do you call that color right there? That's like bronze?
No, it's
Silver?
some kind of weird green. Moss.
That's green, I guess.
I think so, yeah. Some kind of moss color.
He was looking good, though. Looking clean, as we say. But Dak Prescott, the Man of the Year. And as they say in the NFL, it's the most prestigious award because it goes to the best man off the field, taking care of his community, being a part of his community. And every team nominates.
That sleep number bet. He's getting plenty of sleep, too. He's looking well rested.
I may buy one of those now.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I need to sleep like he does.
Those things cost like what a car costs, I believe.
Here we go. Now if he can learn to pass.
Yes. I knew that was coming. I didn't set that up. I was just waiting for it. Man, oh, man. He's a nice guy. Dak Prescott's a nice guy. He's gone through some things. He's lost his brother. I mean, he's gone through some tough times.
No question.
When he's a fourth-round draft choice, I said the Dallas Cowboys should take a flyer on that guy.
You did.
He's quite the leader.
Trumpeting Dak into the draft as a good player, and here he is. He's outplayed that draft pick. There's no doubt. But
for sure.
Obviously, there's a ceiling on what he is as a player in my mind, but doesn't mean he's not a great person. Doesn't mean he's not a great person in that community.
Absolutely.
And last night, honored as he becomes the fourth Cowboy in franchise history to win that coveted Man of the Year award. He joins Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and Jason Witten.
There you go.
We've also taken home that award. Coming back, B&E with you. Breaking news Friday. Super Bowl is Sunday. We're taking your picks. Who you got to win the big game? I've got the Chiefs. Buck has the Eagles. Vegas says it's about a point and a half favorite for the Fly Eagle Fly. We'll take your thoughts. We'll also dive into our Coach's Corner next hour, get you ready for Texas basketball this weekend, and get the breaking news, reset the breaking news story, Longhorns and OU to the SEC 1 year early. Started up, that would be your Friday right here on B&E, 10 February. It is the weekend. It's Super Bowl weekend, final game of the 2022-2023 football season. Who will be the champs? The Eagles, the Chiefs, a couple of top overall seeds, a couple of 16-3 football teams, two great quarterbacks, a couple of good defenses. It's going to be a heck of a game on Sunday. 5:30 kick time. And as we've told you all week long, the Horns Big Game coverage brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer in Leander on Crystal Falls Parkway and in Northeast Austin on I-35 at Runberg. Call them at 512-528-6038, Texas Truck and Trailer. And I will give a huge tip of the cap to our man Super Bowl Stu Myrick and Chad and Zay yesterday, because one of the cooler moments I think we've maybe ever had on this radio station happened at noon yesterday from Radio Row, where Chad and Zay talked to both Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett together.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
That was really cool. So if you missed that, you can always go back and hear it on the podcast. But those are two longtime friends. They won the Heisman Trophy 1 year apart back in the late 70s. And I know Tony Dorsett is a great friend of yours.
Yep.
Earl is a great friend of yours and ours.
How did he sound? How did Tony sound?
Good. Really good.
That is good to hear, because he had been struggling. And, you and I have had him on before. And recently, we've not gotten a chance to really talk to him because he had really struggled with CTE. It really had started to work on him. He went back to Pennsylvania, got some care. You don't see him that often. You don't see him in those Heisman House deals. He used to be in those, and then he got away from that. And so to hear he sounded well, I talked to Zay. He sounded pretty well yesterday. Was really, really good to hear. Because he's a special guy, man. He really got me. Talking about being interested in coaching running backs. Being around that guy, that's what made me interested in coaching running backs, to watch that guy run as smooth as he was. Two special running backs right there.
Two of the best.
Absolutely.
And they're part of a new NFL Network show that's coming out that they were talking about. But it was really cool, and good job to Chad. Zay did a fun job. Zay at one point was like, hey, how do I get some sausage to Earl Campbell?
And done that in quite a while,
He said, go to your HEB.
Yeah.
And Zay's like, I want the hookup. I need some. Give me some. He said, ask Tyler. And Tyler, of course, does the show here on the Horn every Saturday at noon.
Let Tyler hook you
Speaks. Yeah, let's talk to Tyler. Tyler will get you some sausage. No, it's funny. That's legendary stuff. To have those
Absolutely.
two guys separate would be great, but together on Radio Row, and tip of the cap to Super Bowl Stu Myrick for lining that up and making that happen. That was really cool. We've talked to Brian Billick from Radio Row this week. We've had other great guests, and a lot of good stuff going on out there in Arizona. Yeah, it's been a busy week already in Phoenix. They've got the waste management tournament going on out there with 23 of the top 24 players.
It will really get cranking today out
there.
You
got the Super Bowl, and of course they acquired Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns did, the NBA team. Pretty big deal there. So it's been a good week in the Valley of the Sun. I'll tell you what was most notable to me about hearing Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett together. I'll tell you that right after we get you the headlines, because there's a lot of breaking news, a lot of big stories coming down you need to be aware of. Let's get you the trending topics. Headlines brought to you by UBO Business Services. And pretty massive news yesterday dropped by the Big 12 Conference concerning Texas athletics. It's now official. This coming year, the 2023-24 school year, will be the final one in the Big 12 for Texas and Oklahoma. Official release from the conference yesterday. The Big 12 says both schools have agreed in principle to terms to allow both to leave the conference a year early from the original contract, subject to final approval from their governing board. Schools will owe a total of $100 million in exiting fees, which will be partially offset with future revenue. The agreement between the conference and the remaining schools has been set for some time. The final hurdle to clear yesterday, or to get to yesterday's agreement, was resolution with the conference's current TV partner, Fox TV. Along with ESPN, details of that agreement have not been made public, but Fox is expected to receive additional inventory or compensation for the loss of the two schools a year ahead of the agreed-to contract. To that end, multiple reports this morning that Texas and Michigan are going to flip their planned home-and-home non-conference meetings in 2024 and 27 as part of the condition for the early Big 12 exit. Instead of the Longhorns hosting the Wolverines in 2024 here in Austin, they will instead head to the Big House in Ann Arbor for a September game that will almost certainly air on Fox TV. Longhorns will now host the return engagement, the non-conference matchup in 2027. Get you more on that coming up. NFL, and it was a big night out in Phoenix, a few days ahead of the Super Bowl coming up Sunday evening. League held its NFL Honors Award ceremony last night to honor the best players in 2022, and no surprise, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes named the league's MVP, second time he's taken home the hardware. Former Texas Tech Red Raider received 48 of the 50 first-place votes. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen each got a vote apiece. Also last night, Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson took home Offensive Player of the Year honors. 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa named the Defensive Player of the Year. New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll named Coach of the Year. And Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott took home the biggest award of the night, the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Also last night, and coinciding with that NFL honors, the new class of the 2023 Hall of Fame announced. 2023 Pro Football Hall of Famers, and it's a very defensive-heavy class led by the all-time sack leader in Cowboys history, DeMarcus Ware, along with Darrelle Revis, the Revis Island, former cornerback Zach Thomas, former Texas Tech linebacker, also Rondé Barber, cornerback himself, and one offensive player, lineman Joe Thomas, who was a stalwart on the Cleveland Browns offensive lines from 2007 to 2017.
What was that ensemble that Kelly Clarkson was wearing last night?
Yeah, she was a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
She had jokes.
She had jokes. She had an outfit on, too.
Can I just say this, and this is on me, but I pay attention to things pretty closely. I didn't know that show was on last night. I really didn't.
Really?
No. I had no idea. In past years, they've done it the Saturday night before the Super Bowl. And no one sent me a note that they're doing it on Thursday night on NBC. I had no idea. Because I like watching that. I always think it's one of the cool parts of Super Bowl week. And I think it's smart of the NFL to move that into this week and make it part of the big Super Bowl hype and week and hand out the honors and almost do like a Grammy Awards or an Academy Awards type show out there in the host city. I didn't know it was on. I really didn't.
Oh, did Kelly get pieces of that balloon that we downed to make part of that?
Ooh, that's a big.
That's it. Whoa.
I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about her dress. Her.
It's wide, isn't it? It's a large ensemble there, or whatever you may call that.
I didn't know that was.
I know it's some of you want to say. Don't say it. Let's be very sensitive here. Let's not head off to sensitivity training on this.
You're not able to see it. You like me had no idea that was on last night. She's wearing a 88 jersey, Cowboys jersey at the top, but then it morphs into a dress.
Balloons down. Yeah, balloons down.
Morphs.
Okay, that's better.
The lower half, but
is balloon not a good word for that?
With Kelly Clarkson?
Not good. I'm sorry.
I would not go there.
Okay.
We do. The bottom part is like a big poofy
yes.
dress that goes all like it gets really wide down, but balloons.
Balloons. Yeah, puffy. I like poofy is a better word.
But I'll give Kelly Clarkson this. She's a tremendous singer. And I didn't see this show last night. I had no idea. She got
88 on.
Well, yeah, because she's from Burleson.
There you go.
She's from Burleson, Texas originally. She won American Idol. She's gone on to become a musical sensation. She's got her own talk show now. She's like Oprah. She's Oprah now. She's like the white Oprah.
I should have said that's a piece of the dome up there in Dallas. No, it's not.
Burleson is on your way to Fort Worth. Like when you hit 35
absolutely.
Going
I had to
west,
recruit there.
You go right through Burleson.
It's one of my recruiting areas. Burleson.
That's where Kelly Clarkson is from. Hails from back in the day. But there you go. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the outfit, but at the same time, I'm a fan of Kelly Clarkson.
There you go.
And I'm a fan of the Longhorns.
That'll
and
keep
Sooners.
you out of sensitivity training right there. Good job.
Before we get back into Texas and Oklahoma and the early leave, which we told you was coming, the thing I found most interesting, listening to Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett yesterday, they didn't really know each other until they got to the pros. Like we're so used to now that we know kids that are playing high school football all over the country, right? You know kids, and you know the top stars and the recruits and all this. Like both of them, like because they asked, hey, when did y'all start to become friends? When did you first hear of Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett? They both were like
sure, it's a long way from Aliquippa to Tyler.
Yeah, but it was isolated back then. Like it was like Tony Dorsett said, well, I when I started seeing him run over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because he grew up outside of Pittsburgh in Aliquippa, and so he's a Steelers guy, and he had heard the name of Earl Campbell, but he's like, when I started watching him run over Mean Joe Green and L.C. Greenwood and these guys, and Earl said the same. He's like, because times have changed. I mean, it's
absolutely
40 plus years later, but they
were both in the time of breakaway tearaway jerseys.
Well, in college
football,
and they
went through 1 million of them a game.
And that was back when every college football game wasn't on television, and you only had regional coverage of college football. And gosh, you certainly didn't know high school players from other states, right? I mean, you knew the guys from your state, but you didn't know high school players from other states. And then college football games were very regional at the time, which is what led to conferences being regional. And with this announcement yesterday, we're fully to where it's coast to coast, and there's no regional
I only knew
about
him
it
because of the state of Pennsylvania and playing in the Big 33 game with him.
Yeah,
and being a part of that.
In the state of Texas, even in coming out of Tyler and then at the University of Texas, Earl Campbell was a huge deal. So when he went to the Houston Oilers, that was a huge deal. Outside the state, until he became a member of the Houston Oilers and started to show out on Monday Night Football, Earl Campbell was not known to the rest of the country like that. You know what I mean? It's just such a different time. And listening to those two talk about that, I thought was really interesting. And it obviously dovetails right into this conversation, which will lead us into our Coach's Corner. It's brought to you by Audiovisual Consultations, Tom McKay and his great crew. Are you a fan of Tom's new commercials with his daughter, featuring his daughter?
I am. Oh, his daughter's, she's going to school up in Boston. Yeah, she's up in Boston, stage and screen and singing, and then she'll be one of those Broadway performers very soon.
That's awesome.
But she goes to school. I think it's Emerson.
Ooh, that sounds not cheap.
It's not. It's not.
I'm not going to speak for Tom, but that sounds.
That sounds like Harvard type of stuff.
Emerson.
Yeah.
That sounds private and costly.
Yes.
But I hope she's doing great.
She
sounds
great
on the commercials, I will tell you that. And we appreciate Tom and his team at avconsultations.com.
I'll be checking it out on that big 85-incher.
A couple of the questions that have already come in on our conversations about UT and OU leaving a year early. Why did the Big 12 let Texas and Oklahoma off easy? Remember, the initial reports was to break the 99-year granting of rights, right? When Texas signed this deal, along with everybody in the Big 12, after the big wave of, conference realignment back when Texas A&M and Nebraska and everybody bolted, the remaining 10 schools at the suggestion of DeLoss Dodds, mostly the athletic director at the time, was we need to all unite and agree. And they signed a 99-year granting of rights. That if you leave this conference, we still own your rights for 99 years, right? I mean, wherever you go, we own you, which would prevent teams from leaving. So the question comes fairly from other Big 12 schools. Well, why did they get out for $100 million combined? When remember, the initial costs were like $80 million a school,
right?
Like each school at $80 million plus, some other incentives. Didn't have to happen. So why did they let them off easy? The easy answer to that question, Buck, is ESPN wanted them to let them off. ESPN feeds everybody, and ESPN said, "Y'all back down, back down."
Yeah,
you back down because we want this to happen.
And you're about to join a conference where we pay a lot of money to.
And we're going to be paying you too.
That's right.
Just make this happen, and we'll make it right. And this is how TV drives everything. We know that. It's been driving everything for a long time. But ESPN basically told the other schools, look, listen, back down. We'll make you whole. We won't make what you were making, but we're going to make it right. And
they weren't just telling, they were telling the Big 12 they need to back down too.
Right. Well, because, listen, if they play hardball with Texas and Oklahoma and don't let them out.
Right.
And make
Who are they going to deal with?
Then who's going to pay for you? Who's going to pay your rights? Fox doesn't want you. Right? I mean, Fox wasn't going to bid what ESPN was for the remaining schools, which is why Brett Yormark talked anybody that was against it into, hey, y'all, let's not bite the hand that feeds us. Let's let this happen. We'll let them out of their granting of rights. We'll do it $100 million combined.
And that dude said that initially. He was willing to, if it works out.
Right. And so the next domino to drop, Buck, is going to be the collapse of the Pac-10 or Pac-12 as it were, but it's 10 now with USC and UCLA. I think, gosh, I'm hearing more and more that could happen quick. Because George Kliavkoff, who's the current commissioner,
who probably won't be once some of these moves are made.
Yeah, they're not real happy with him. I mean, there are 10 schools remaining when USC and UCLA leave. They're all uncertain. I told you that Kliavkoff put a contract on the table that was a part ESPN, part Amazon deal. and that high majority of their games would be streamed on Amazon only, and then ESPN would carry the rest. I've also been told ESPN may have pulled that off the table. They said, no, you guys didn't sign it in time. You guys can fend for yourself. Go deal with Amazon. Well, now, I mean, this thing is in complete fracture in the Pac-12. Kliavkoff could not get a consensus. At last check, there were only 4 schools.
And that's the group we thought would be running like rats off a ship too, a sinking ship.
Right, and they're saying everything in public. No, we're good. And the reports were out yesterday that Kliavkoff was visiting with SMU, and he's talked to San Diego State, and they're trying to actually add schools to strengthen the deal. ESPN is, they're out.
What are they trying to be, the 5th best out of all these schools?
They're going to be non-existent. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're going to be out. And that's unfortunate. I know for folks who, root for. But now, look, those schools that play high-level football, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State.
They're gone. They're going somewhere else.
They're going to land in a good spot.
Absolutely.
The conference, as we know it, will not exist. And,
and I still got to believe somebody wants Stanford to be a part of their conference.
Big Ten. Yeah. I mean, it makes way too – the Big Ten cannot add USC and UCLA without other Western partners. They can't. I mean, they have to play sports in all sports. They can't just play football. I mean, their baseball team has to play games. Their volleyball teams, their basketball teams, and they can't play all games in the Midwest and the Eastern time zone. I mean, they can't travel for that way. And they have to have Western partners join. But here's the problem for the Big Ten. They can't look like because they'll get sued by the Pac-12 if they're the ones that are, ripping apart this conference. They need the Big 12, and they need the schools to want out, which is essentially. I mean, I think we all knew when Texas and Oklahoma announced they're leaving to the SEC, and it was only a matter of when, not if, and now that USC and UCLA are leaving to the Big Ten, there was going to have to be a conference that collapses. There wasn't enough TV dollars and bandwidth to make it all happen. There was initial fears that it would be the remaining Big 12. They've stabilized. They've added 4 schools. They've grown. ESPN has given them assurances that there'll be plenty of revenue. It's going to be the Pac-12 that's going to be gone. Those schools will land. I mean, that's why we talk about the 4 into the Big 12 and probably the remaining that the Big Ten wants into the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I know how football drives it, but make no mistake, the basketball conference itself in the Big 12, along with those groups, March Madness is a lot of money.
Sure. It's the second biggest revenue generator, and it's the biggest revenue generator for the NCAA, without a doubt, which at this point still exists, the NCAA.
Right,
if you
they
forgot.
still do things.
But so, yeah, the conference, as we know it, the Pac-12, Pac-10, that'll be gone, but those schools will roll into either the Big Ten and the Big 12, and so you'll have Big 10, SEC, Big 12, and ACC. You'll have 4 power conferences, and that's where we're headed. And I give credit to the remaining Big 12 schools for, understanding that. Okay, let's just not be mad at Texas and Oklahoma. We need to make sure we've
been living off of them for years, by the way.
Sure. And, again, to the question of why did they get off easy as far as the exit fees, ESPN said so. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And now they're going to roll in as the third. And I think they'll be a more powerful conference in the ACC.
I do too.
As far as the big picture of athletics and revenues and, future growth, I think they're going to be in a really good place. And I think Texas and Oklahoma are going to be in a really good place. So I think it works out.
Oh, God. And with the number of playoff teams now,
yeah,
you can be assured that the SEC will have 3 teams every year now.
Well,
there will be 3.
Likely.
There will be 3.
Likely. I think that's fair. And
there will be 2 from the Big Ten on a bad year. There will be 3 from the SEC on a okay year, but on a good year there could be 4.
And this agreement and final announcement from the Big 12, which came out yesterday, which we told you the Big 12 was wanting to announce along with their schedule release, but they needed to figure out the Fox deal. And as we said in the headlines, that the concession is that Michigan game is now in Ann Arbor in 2024, and that's going to be on Fox. Those are the kind of things where ESPN will say, okay, look, we're going to get Texas and Oklahoma for all their games, and we're going to be able to broadcast 2 big heavyweights and bring them into the conference when we want to, which is 2024, because 2024 is also the year that the new ESPN deal with the SEC kicks in, right? ESPN takes sole possession of Southeastern Conference football. CBS is out, and now they can add Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh my God, and the Michigan-Texas game is a monster.
Well, I mean,
home
Texas,
and away. Wow.
And I was asking somebody last night. I was asking somebody that in the know. Did Texas and Oklahoma didn't plan this, or Texas didn't plan this 10 years ago, did they? Because the Michigan game was scheduled in 2014, and it turns out to be the resolution to this issue.
Yeah.
Was, oh no, okay, we're already scheduled to play. Here's what I don't know. The reports are that the Michigan game is already going to be flipped from Austin to Ann Arbor in 24, yes. And then Texas will host that game in 27. But they also have a home and home with Ohio State in 25 and 6, right, or 25 and 8. I wonder if that's a part of this too, where Fox was like, and remember, Texas isn't the only one that has to make concessions. Oklahoma has to give some games to Fox too, you would imagine. And as we've said, for Fox TV, the reason they were holding this thing up is that the only schools in the current Big 12 that week by week will draw over 1 million viewers are Texas and whoever they play, and Oklahoma and whoever they play.
Correct.
No other schools do that. Doesn't matter if Baylor's playing TCU and Texas Tech's playing whoever. When Texas plays somebody, it draws the big audience.
And, of course.
And when Texas plays Oklahoma, it draws a huge audience.
Right. Mike Gundy doesn't want anything to do with either one of the schools now, but guess what? He will have zero say when it comes down to money in Oklahoma, if he's there, if he's the head coach at that time. You know what I'm saying? He won't be able to say, no, I don't want it. Well, they're going to look at him and go, what?
Yeah. Well, I think, when you look at the Big 12 moving forward, this is where, because the other thing that Fox was asking for was for Oklahoma to play some games against former Big 12 schools that they could air on Fox, and ESPN would agree to it. That has not been announced yet, but there have been reports. But you're right. Look, the Big 12 has to blaze their own trail, and they need to find their own big brands and big rivalries and big games. And that's why TCU playing for the national championship this year, even though they got smoked by Georgia,
it's huge.
Was huge. Was huge for branding for the Big 12 and the new Big 12, and Baylor being in the Sugar Bowl the year previous, and teams not Texas and Oklahoma that are doing very well in football, basketball. Kansas and Baylor have won the last 2 national championships. This can be what Brett Yormark, the new commissioner, is going to sell, and that's why he's got to build new rivalries. There's got to be big games. They're bringing Houston on board. They need to grow the Houston market as the 4th largest market in the country, is a big brand. That's why adding four of the schools out of the dying Pac-12, BYU Utah becomes a huge rivalry game for them to be able to put on television and sell to TV partners. Arizona State becomes a rivalry game. Colorado possibly joining the Big 12 would be huge, and getting that Denver market and with Deion Sanders now, which makes it a much more
makes it interesting for
makes
sure.
It a more interesting brand. So yeah, lot to like. But as far as Mike Gundy, is he going to cut his mullet like Quinn Ewers did?
Probably not.
Quinn Ewers.
But I'm saying this about with Oklahoma, but who knows if he's coach then when that happens? They may be ready to part their ways too.
Well, it's true.
I know what, they're not going to miss out on that money.
Exactly. All right, so we're dealing with a major power outage in South Austin. I don't know what's going on there, but William Cannon, traffic lights are out. I'm looking at this right now. We heard Don Miller talk about it. He'll have more on that coming up. We'll get the latest. But if you're out and about and where there are normally stoplights, they're not even flashing, please be careful. Please be careful as things get busy out there. Traffic lights are down. Power is out. We don't know if this is a grid issue. And just because the light is not on doesn't mean you don't have to stop and slow down for cross traffic. So be advised of that as you're out there this morning. South Austin is where we're seeing a major power outage. So more as we can get it. But also Texas and Oklahoma a year early. Super Bowl 57. Chris Del Conte will join our show in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about the agreement and the move and what's coming. It's Beanie on the Horn.
Folks, Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star group of professionals do everything from general dentistry to the most advanced work, and that would be restoring teeth like I had done in just 2 visits with the good doctor 6 years ago. And believe me, I can't be any happier, but I have a cavity, and years gone by before I knew Dr. Eckert, this thing, I wouldn't have gone to see a dentist for years and years with this, but I'm going to get this done with Dr. Eckert and Anna and their group and get it done quickly for sure. And you can too, as a matter of fact. Find out if you're a candidate for dental implants, which the great doctor is doing, by giving him a call today at 512-345-3166. And when I talk about these wonderful veneers that I have and getting it done in just 2 visits, you get a chance to test drive it, as a matter of fact. When you go in there, you'll have temporaries. You'll love the temporaries so much you'll want to keep them. But Dr. Eckert will have you come in, fit you for those veneers that you're looking for, and you will be awful excited like I have also. But general dentistry, extractions, teeth cleaning, teeth whitening, Dr. Eckert is doing that also. 27 years of service in this area, over 1,400 cases of restoring teeth. Nobody's better than Dr. Greg Eckert and his staff, believe me. And that dental anxiety that you've had in the past will just go away. And you don't want to create any problems for yourself, not only just with your dental anxiety, because it'll affect your overall health, and you don't want that to happen. And with Dr. Eckert, he's not going to let that happen. So give him a call today, make an appointment like I've done at 512-345-3166. He's our dentist, and he should be your dentist also.
Good news. Power back on in South Austin. Austin Energy has released a tweet here a little bit ago that says about 7,500 customers in South Austin were without power this morning because of a circuit lockout. But they have restored the lockout.
It's back.
It is back. Buck, also, I didn't inform you when I mentioned the great work by Stu Myrick and Chad and Zay yesterday talking to Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett.
Mm-hmm.
On that interview, Earl Campbell did call you the Howard Cosell of Austin radio.
That's got to be longevity.
No,
because I've never ever said, watch that little monkey run.
Oh,
I have never ever said that ever.
Come on.
Right?
Dude, when Earl Campbell.
I've been with you.
Dude, that's one of the greatest compliments of all time.
Oh, it is. That's what I'm saying. Howard Cosell, the longevity of Howard Cosell was unbelievable.
But he was also
Monday Night Football.
He was the best.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yes, he had a misstep there where he said on
Monday
Night Football what he would say to his little grandkids.
Yeah, but he did not get sensitivity training on that one. He'd be gone. Gone right off the bat for that one. But
Earl Campbell did call you the Howard Cosell.
I did. I know. I heard that, and that was very complimentary.
It is. It's
Earl,
a great compliment.
I appreciate that.
We love Earl, and what a great piece of radio that was. Go listen to it. We'd play it back, but we want you to go listen to it on the podcast because that's good for us.
In my short lifetime, to be around all these Heisman Trophy winners in my life, Doug Flutie, Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Tony Dorsett. I mean, that's been a good life for me right there.
Pretty
people
good.
That I've got to know and had a chance to coach and be around those. And I'll never forget Tony Dorsett, our freshman year, when he decided to destroy my Boston College Eagles as a freshman at University of Pittsburgh and his own parking space. After the game, came over to me. He was the original NIL guy. I mean, he came up with a wad of $50 bills and said, "Hey, Godbolt, you need a little some of this?" I'm like, I don't mind there, Tony. Appreciate that. And of course, he was, and then I got to see his son play.
Anthony
Yeah.
Anthony Dorsett. Yeah.
Yep.
No, and I know you've told me that when Ricky broke the all-time rushing record in college football history, you picked up Tony Dorsett at the airport, right?
Yeah.
For him to come watch it because he broke Tony Dorsett's record.
Yep.
Which Ron Dane then broke the following year.
Which was the last time I've ever seen it in the stadium for a game.
Yeah. A lot of cool things happening. So that's why we send Stu Myrick out to the Super Bowl every year, wherever it's at, and he posts up and gets to have a good time.
And you and I have had Tony on before, but boy, there was. I prayed for him for such a long time because there was a guy that if there's anybody that you wouldn't think that it would ever come down with that. Remember, he joined the fight for that just for name wise. The guys in CTE, he joined just to help them out. They needed a name recognition guy. He was okay. And then within a year after he joined them to help them out, he got it.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. And he said the worst thing, he said, Godbolt, here's what happened to me. He goes, I knew I had a problem when I dropped my daughter off at soccer practice and I had to call my wife to get me back home. I didn't remember how to get home.
Oh.
He said, I sat in the car in the parking lot. I called my wife. I remembered the number, and she had to come and get me out of the parking lot.
Gosh.
And in his day, there was no substitute running back. He took it on. I mean, he was a fantastic pass protector. And because you never could hit him. I mean, nobody got clean shots on him, although he took shot after shot after shot. But he had to be a pass protector in the offense too.
Sure.
He had to stand in there and take on the Chuck Halleys and those people.
Well, he did sound good yesterday. Earl did as well. And that interview is available at hornfm.com. Go check it out. About 15 minutes. And there's also the video version, the Twitch version, which you can watch, which is really cool too. So yeah, a lot going on. I mentioned the NFL honors in the headline. Patrick Mahomes, MVP. Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year. Justin Jefferson, Offensive. Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year. But congratulations to Austin's own Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, who, as we talked about our growth of our flex brand and what we're doing with high school football. The way I try to explain it is when we were at the NFL draft last April out in Vegas, and there's Garrett Wilson, drafted 10th overall by the Jets. And my son interviewed him, and there he was. We're like, man, we got to start learning about these kids, introducing our audience to these youngsters more, sooner and more often. That these are going to be the stars of the future, playing in college football and pro football, and just highlighting and documenting what they're doing in their high school career.
Be a star.
Well, now here he is the top offensive rookie of the year. edged out Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks to win that award. And Sauce Gardner, the corner, won Defensive Rookie of the Year. So pretty good draft. Pretty good draft for the New York Jets as far as the foundation goes. There they got a young receiver, and they took Breece Hall in the second round.
Oh, man.
Who was having a great rookie year before he got hurt. They did a pretty nice job of stockpiling. And if you're a fan of the Houston Texans, that's what you need to do. Because you have the second pick in this year's draft. You have the 11th pick in this year's draft. You have the second pick of the second round.
Get them on those rookie contracts.
You have to hit those. I mean, look, the Jets are, I don't want to say set up, but the Jets, if they can find a quarterback, are be a pretty good team. Because
for sure.
They got the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, and they have Breece Hall, and they have an emerging offensive line and a top 5 defense. That's how you get good, Buck. That's how you get good. You hit on those draft picks, and it doesn't do any good to stockpile picks and build draft capital if you don't hit on the picks. And that's what the Houston Texans have an opportunity to do this April with the second pick and another top 11 pick, and then the second pick of the second round. And it should be the first pick, dang it. Lovie Smith.
Why?
Why are you screwing that up? You can't do that. Golly, how'd they win that game?
Why did they?
Why would you go for 2? Just
Why?
take a knee and take your punishment and get the first pick.
You're going to get fired either way.
I know everybody disagreed with me the day after, but now that you're seeing that the Bears have the first pick and they're going to trade the pick and you may not get the quarterback you want, now you see why that was so important? You kidding me? Now you fired your coach and I don't know. Never mind. Hey, let's get to the questions on the text line. This says, what happens to the LHN in 2024? Longhorn Network would be the question. That's a fair question. What I've been told is it's going to roll into SEC Network. And there's been talks of, because the LHN will not exist. Let's start with that. It's not going to be a Longhorn Network. You're not allowed to bring your own network into the Southeastern Conference. But, the SEC Network is a great network. I mean, they do great programming. There's a solid chance that the current LHN and its facilities become a western flank of the SEC Network, where it's like Alex Loeb and some of that talent will roll in and they'll mainly cover Texas and Oklahoma and A&M and Arkansas on the western side of the SEC, and just be like they have the central location. There's an eastern branch in Atlanta or wherever that is, and then Austin could become the western hub of the SEC. But yes, this year where you're watching Longhorn baseball, every game, home game on LHN, that's probably the last year that happens.
Yep. Probably
the last year. Now, that's not a guarantee. I mean, when you think about this, when you get to the SEC and you have look, ESPN has enough channels and HD and ESPN Plus, there's no reason you can't have most Texas games at home on the SEC, one of the channels, right? Especially when because think about we talk about football, and it's going to be great starting in 2024 now to be back playing Texas playing Oklahoma and A&M and Arkansas each year, most likely.
It's baseball.
Think about baseball.
Wow.
Think about baseball. You'll be back, in the same conference playing against those same schools, plus LSU, Mississippi State, Mississippi, Alabama. It's going to be an unbelievable sports conference and athletic conference moving forward. Big 12, pretty good right now. SEC will be gangbusters in all sports.
You play to win the game.
Play to win the game.
Yeah.
Play to win the game.
Unless it's for the first round pick.
So you endorse tanking. I endorse tanking. They tanked the whole year. What are you talking about? You watch them play?
They've been tanking for years.
You watching them play? Here's what I say. Anybody that disagrees with me about the Texans, you should be forced to watch every game like I do. You should be forced to. You don't even watch them.
They didn't just start tanking.
Yeah. I mean, you did a great job the whole year to get to the last game, and all you had to do was lose. What are you doing?
I love that. That is so non-coachable right there.
So you go for 2? It's just.
What are you doing?
Okay, don't take a knee, Lovey. Run a bad play. That looks
like you're trying to win, right?
Okay, think about this. Remember when the Texans were about to beat the Cowboys in Arlington? Remember that? A few weeks earlier? And they had an interception, and they got to the 4-yard line and a chance to clinch the game, and they couldn't score from the 4 on 4 plays.
They were tanking then.
On the 4th down play, the stumble bum quarterback went the wrong way or whatever it was. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do.
Make it look like you're trying to win.
Yes. Run a dumb play. Have the quarterback run the wrong way. I don't care, Lovely. Do something to not win this game.
Yeah, we don't have to call it tanking, but show us that you can.
It's the number 1 pick. Number 1, you control the draft. First pick of every round.
You see what the Bears did at the end? Their quarterback was 64 yards away from being the all-time He didn't play. He didn't get a chance to play. They said, nope, you're not playing. You're not gonna take Lamar Jackson's record and beat it.
Stinking Lovey, who knew he was getting fired, went for 2. And the Colts let him get it. Jeff Saturday.
He still got his gig?
They haven't hired a coach yet.
Oh.
But it's probably going to be him.
Oh, no.
Come on, man.
We're not going to do that.
Remember in that 4th down play against the Cowboys that could have clinched the game? Quarterback ran the wrong way. Just run the same play. That's all we have to do. Perfect.
I know alcohol is a terrible thing, but tell me their owner's not doing that. They're not really going to do that again.
What?
And I know alcohol is a bad thing
Irsay?
at times. Yeah, when you overindulge. But he's not really going to bring that guy back as his head. Are we getting towards that direction where this year has helped him out a lot? The experience of losing this year has really helped him?
You had one mission. Get the first pick. Complete the mission. Complete
That's
the
right.
mission. 100% we do not support tanking. This is the San Antonio Spurs. Exactly. Exactly. That's when tanking works. Victor Wembanyama, the number 1 pick. We tank to secure our franchise for the next decade plus because we get the number 1 pick.
How do you coach tanking, though? How do you do it?
Just run a bad play.
Just be yourself.
Run a bad play. Fumble the snap. I don't care. I mean, this is easy. I can think of 100 ways to fumble that play on a 2. Go for 2.
I mean, doesn't Lovey go in and talk to the guy and say, listen, can you keep me on in some capacity if I tank this game? I'm sorry.
Game.
Not tank this game.
Leverage game.
Just give me I'm going to leverage something out of this.
I'm assuming Nick Caserio was on the phone calling down. Muff this play. Do not get this too. Do not get this too. All right, we'll be back. We'll come back.
Wow.
It'll be hot or not. Topics we've missed halfway through a busy Friday edition. A lot of breaking news, a lot of top stories. B&E with you. Hot or not on a Friday. The Super Bowl is red hot on Sunday, 5:30 kick time. Chris Stapleton will sing the national anthem.
Sponsored by our friends over at Allstat, huh?
Yeah, Allstat beer brings you hot or not. That is exactly right. How about this? Speaking of Allstat and our friends at Bud Light and Brown Distributing, did you know that 2022 was the first time that liquor sales passed beer sales ever in the United States?
Past beer sales?
Yeah, spirits made up 42.1% of booze sales in the U.S. last year, while beer fell to 41.9%.
Dadgum Tito.
Yeah. Wine a distant third, 16%.
And when you say a distant, that is a distant third now.
You will, I'm sure, you won't be, but those who are going to have some beverages and enjoy the Super Bowl and a Super Bowl party, please do it smart. Be safe and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, well, I liked my Gentleman Jack and just straight up Jack and no ice. Why waste the ice? But I was a wino.
You were?
Well,
you and John McAvoy?
We were winos now. King of the winos.
There you go. Well,
but it wasn't. It was good stuff.
By the way, 50% of Americans say they expect to watch the Super Bowl. What's the other 50 going to be doing? I don't know. But
what I'm doing.
But 43% making out.
Hell yeah.
Chicka bow wow. You'll be watching the game. You just have a halftime show.
I just have my own halftime. That's entertainment. Yes, for sure.
43% of those 50% say they aren't rooting for either team.
Really?
Right? Which probably makes sense. If half the country's watching, they're not all Chiefs or Eagles fans. Those fans will root for their team. But the other part of that is they'll be rooting for their money if they make a bet on it or they have a Super Bowl square. That always adds some interest to it. And as we've said, this is the first ever Super Bowl to be played in a state that allows legal sports gambling. So, yeah, you can have a lot of fun out in Phoenix.
So they gamble on the Super Bowl, huh?
Most gambled on event every year, most watched event every year, the Super Bowl. Enjoy it on Sunday, and a lot to get to. It's a good week out in Phoenix. They got the waste management tournament going on right now, the golf tournament, which is, by the way, why don't they, watching that yesterday with the crowds and the galleries and that par 3, why won't they host a Ryder Cup there? Wouldn't that be great? When the Euros come over here to try to
for sure
host it there? The weather would be good. Have these huge crowds and just intimidate the heck out of those Euros. That'd be great. Give me that Ryder Cup out there. But they also have Kevin Durant now playing for Phoenix. You were out yesterday. What are your thoughts on
I'm glad.
Kevin Durant?
I'm excited for – I hope that's his last stop on the bus stop. I hope he's –
Probably so. He's 34.
Yeah.
3 years left on his contract.
He can get a championship there and then say he's the deciding factor there.
Well, he could be. I mean, he was averaging – he was an MVP candidate before the injury. And I know Jack Farrell, our producer, you're a big NBA guy. You like this trade for Phoenix. Are you picking them now to win the NBA championship?
Boston still looks good, but, I mean, if KD can stay on the court and Devin Booker and Chris Paul can have, one last gasp of excellence as he winds his career down, I love Phoenix here. And, I growing up in Austin, big KD guy. So
is Golden State not in this thing at all? I mean, are they –
they're still the Warriors, and
they still are pretty good, right?
They've had a rough year. They're pretty terrible.
They can't win on the road. Yeah, they can't win on the road.
Steph's been hurt, and he just went down for a few weeks, so that might put them out of the running. But even if they squeak into the playoffs as like an 8 seed, they're still terrifying. I mean,
I would think so.
Like the Rockets in '95, they were kind of hurt all year. They came in as a 6 seed. Were probably better than that. And then went on a tear, won the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that was the Hakeem Clyde, the Glide team, and won the championship that year, no doubt about it. We'll see, because you still have Steph and Clay, and they can get healthy. They're the champions until proven otherwise. And speaking of Houston, we're tanking for the top pick there too. That's what we do in Houston. We win World Series in Houston with the Astros, and they have the other teams challenge for the top pick in the draft. That's what we do.
Well, didn't the Cowboys tank? Their whole offensive staff tanked, didn't they?
They got fired.
Oh.
Jack, what do you have for us in Hot or Not? What have we missed halfway through this busy Friday?
Touched on it just a bit, but this is a very literal Hot or Not. Quinn Ewers, new look, slimmed down a little bit, cut the hair, trimmed up the beard. Is Quinn now hot, or is he not?
You know what? I didn't care if that guy wore a wig and if he could throw and play and guide the team. I wouldn't care if he came out there with a long blonde wig.
Well, I mean, I like the look. I'll say that. I think he looks sharp, high and tight for Quinn Ewers now. The mullet is gone. And look, I mean, that's what he needs. He needs to mature a little bit. He needs to take that position very seriously. And he's got all the skills. I will also say last year was essentially his freshman year, and we saw freshmen making some freshman mistakes and learning the offense and learning college football, the speed of the game. Let's hope he's a lot better, because if he's good this year, their offense is going to be really good.
Yes.
Their offense has a chance to be really, really good. And that becomes the hot or not goal for Texas, is to win the Big 12 on the way out, because we now know it's official, and they are leaving the Big 12 after this year, not just in football but in all sports. July 1st of 2024 will be their start date in the SEC. So how about that? Win it. The serendipity of it, as we said earlier, to win the first one, might as well go ahead and win the last one.
Absolutely.
And you are in
and
that.
There's nothing wrong with talking about it.
Yeah, nothing wrong. Well, should be the goal. No reason not to be. No reason that it's not the goal. We'll come back. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. Good stuff. We'll hit the headlines, including that news. If you're just tuning in and just waking up and hearing it, that Texas and Oklahoma have agreed with the remainder of the Big 12 and Fox TV. The deal is done. Big 12 put out the release last night. They are headed to the SEC. We'll get you the very latest on that. And Chris Del Conte will join us to talk about that decision and that announcement coming up in our 9 o'clock hour. Also, Lee Sterling will join us. All the best Super Bowl prop bets you need to make. He'll be with us as we roll forward. It's a busy Friday into Super Bowl weekend here on 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, streaming always on the Horn app, on your smart speaker, and at hornfm.com.
Lovey made him.
Viking fence since 1972, folks. Trusted in this great state all over Central Texas. No one does fences better than Viking. They do it all. They do wood fences, wood privacy fences for your home or business. So they do the residential fences, the commercial fences. So if you're new to town, moved to town, bought some property, have a business you're starting, do it with a Viking fence for all your fencing needs. They also have building materials. As we say, when the weather turns here and it's going to be beautiful in the spring and you want to install your fence, maybe your fence was damaged by the recent storms and you need to do some repairs, get your materials at Viking Fence. That's the same. Materials are what really separates Viking Fence. That's what they've done over the 5 decades, is invest in those materials, the raw materials. They have their own on-site lumber mill, that cedar mill where they mill the Western Red Cedar, 3 different grades. They also have that pre-staining equipment, the Western Red Cedar product, so they ready seal stain it so it's ready to go when you install it. They also have the on-site gate fabrication for the iron gates in any residential or commercial gate, and their on-site custom iron facility with the CNC bending equipment, cold and hot forging capability, pipe bending, the whole thing. They control that raw material. That's always been their goal from start to finish, so that they can bring you the most value and the highest quality, and that separates them. You will not find another company anywhere in Central Texas that does all that, has all that, and has all that capability. It's what makes them better. It's what separates them. It's why they put the longest warranties on their fences of anybody. They're insured and bonded. They're the best. It's Viking Fence, 837-6411, the phone number. That's 837-6411. Find them online and get a quote. See the gallery at vikingfence.com. When you think fence in Austin, Texas, think Viking. Yeah, big time breaking news came down yesterday evening. The Big Ten, or the Big Ten. I was just reading future schedules. Texas and Oklahoma will be joining the SEC and leaving the Big 12 1 year early next July 2024. They will be out of here and playing in the Southeastern Conference. So 1 more year in the Big 12, actually year and a half. They'll finish up this spring semester in basketball and baseball and all sports, and then play 1 more calendar sports year in the Big 12, a conference they helped found along with Oklahoma back in the mid-'90s. And you were a part of the first ever Big 12 championship
yes, indeed.
football team in Texas in 1996. As a 21-point underdog, you guys beat Nebraska to win the first Big 12 championship, and now maybe Longhorns looking for some serendipity to win the final.
That would be awesome.
And I did see Quinn Ewers again. I saw another shot of Quinn. Quinn Ewers has gone from looking like Joe Dirt to like Justin Timberlake. What's going on here? It's amazing what a hairdo can do for you. He's looking all sharp and whatnot. Looks like slimmer. He looks like he's ready to go. And
you look good. You play good.
That's right. It didn't mean I'm not saying he looked bad, but he looks better. He looks better. Looks good. Speaking like a parent who's got a kid with
there you go.
super long hair.
It did look kind of bad, right? You can say it.
I can say it. Thank you, Jack. And I won't say that about my son Nolan, who's 21, and he calls it his lettuce. He's got his
lettuce, full head of lettuce.
And I'm old enough. I remember him when he had short hair, and he looked like we have side by side pictures of Nolan when he's a teenager, and he looks like what's his name, Ryan Gosling. I mean,
yeah. Now did you ever have lettuce like that?
No. When I was 12 years old, I had a mullet. I could tie a knot, like, and pull it around and tie it in front of me. But
okay.
That was it. One time. And then I went short and never went back. One time. My older brother, had super long hair.
Yeah, I had a little mini fro. It was always thin.
You had the big fro or the mini fro?
I had a little mini fro. Like
you never had the high hair?
I couldn't get high hair.
Really?
Oh no, my hair was too thin. My hair was thin when I was young. It was never thick.
Well, with Texas and Oklahoma, and by the way, within the announcement, there's also reports this morning. Somebody asked us about this on the text line, so let's clarify. We've told you all last week that the final hurdle is Fox TV. Everything, the Big 12 was ready for Texas and Oklahoma to move on. They're ready to move on. They want to go attack the crumbling Pac-12 and add to what they're doing and start living their new life. And Texas and Oklahoma were ready to go too. It was Fox TV, and part of as we talked with Ross Dellinger earlier this week from Sports Illustrated, he's pointed out that one of the concessions will be game swaps, where Fox, who's going to lose Texas and Oklahoma 1 year earlier than their contract says, and they're going to lose that revenue and the big TV ratings that come with Texas and Oklahoma games, that there's going to be a swap. And there's already reports this morning that Texas already has their future schedule set, and next year, 2024, the year they enter the SEC, they're scheduled to play Michigan here in Austin, where the reports are that's going to flip, that they're going to play Michigan in Ann Arbor, and then that game will almost certainly be on Fox. That's part of the concession, and Fox will air that game as part of their Big Ten network or their Big Ten contract, and they'll get the revenue and the ratings out of that because obviously if it was a game here, that would have been an SEC kind of game. But either way, so they're going to get that game. They're going to flip those, and I'm sure there's other concessions we don't know about yet for Fox to make that right. But think about this, Buck. If that report is accurate, the next 3 years, Texas will play at Alabama this year. That would mean they'll play at Michigan the following year. And then they're going to play at Ohio State to start the 2025 season. How about that?
Nice roadies.
Yeah. So if you're a fan looking for a road trip, I know you're already making your plans for Alabama. You might want to start thinking about making plans to go to Detroit or Ann Arbor. It's set for September the 7th of 2024. And then Ohio State set for August 30th of 2025. They would also then host Ohio State in 2026 and then host Michigan here in 2027. Also, they're set and scheduled in 2028, Buck, to host Georgia and then play a home-and-home with the Georgia Bulldogs in 28 and 29. I'm assuming as members of the Southeastern Conference, they'll change that. I have to assume.
Oh, yeah, things will get changed. The schedule will get changed for that.
Because you're not going to play that in a non-conference game if you're in their conference, but those are already on the books. They're also set in 2030 and 2031 to play home-and-homes with Florida, the Florida Gators. I'm assuming that maybe those – I mean, I don't know.
Changes could be made there now.
I mean, we're scheduled to talk to Chris Del Conte coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. I'm assuming – we can ask him about that, but those could just become conference games, right? You could just move them back in the schedule and work with the SEC on that since they've already been agreed to. But those could become conference games, I guess. I don't know, or they just go away because that won't make sense at that point. But how about that would be the next 3 Septembers: a trip to Alabama, a trip to Michigan, and a trip to Ohio State. In addition to this year's Big 12 schedule, and in addition to what would become the SEC schedule in 2024.
Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Better keep those top 3 recruiting classes rolling in here.
Yes, I would say.
And bringing in quarterbacks, and, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Let's get the other headlines, the trending topics on what is a very busy Friday morning ahead of Super Bowl 57. Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Lawn and Equipment Rentals. Yeah, that's the top news. The massive release from the Big 12 yesterday that this 2023-24 school year will be the final one for the Big 12 in the Big 12 for Texas and Oklahoma. We'll get more on that coming up. The school's, by the way, going to owe a total of $100 million in exiting fees, which will be partially offset with future revenue. NFL is a big night out in Phoenix. We know the big day is coming up on Sunday with the Super Bowl, but ahead of that, they had their NFL Honors event last night, their version of the Academy Awards or Grammys, handing out all the top hardware. In which they announced that Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes named the league's MVP for the second time in his career. Former Texas Tech Red Raider received 48 of the 50 first-place votes. Also last night, Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson was named the Offensive Player of the Year. 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa named the Defensive Player of the Year. He led the NFL in sacks with 18.5. Giants head coach Brian Daboll named the Coach of the Year. And how about the former Lake Travis Cavalier, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver of the New York Jets, named the Offensive Rookie of the Year. His teammate, Sauce Gardner, the cornerback out of Cincinnati, he was named the Defensive Rookie of the Year, so a clean sweep for the Jets in that. And congratulations to Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. He was named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. It says the ass whippings begin 7-1-24.
You don't want to go in there having that happen to you. Win it this year.
Hey, look. I mean,
win it, get used to winning.
I think this thing is on a very good timeline for Texas. I think, as we talked about, they're going to be favored, I think, this year to play in the Big 12 title game by most.
I think both teams will be. I think Oklahoma will rise back up, too. I do.
I expected a regression from Oklahoma. I didn't expect a 6-6 season from them and no defense whatsoever. But yes, they lost so much on their coaching staff and on their roster. And Brett Venables has really attacked the transfer portal.
I think that will change this year. I think Texas and Oklahoma will be 1 and 1A this year.
Dylan Gabriel's back playing quarterback.
Back. Yeah, I mean, when he's healthy, they're pretty good.
But they got to stop somebody at some point. They got to play defense. They didn't play defense under Garrett when Lincoln Riley was there, and he just outscored everybody, much like he did at USC this year.
I would think they'd be better in second year under a defensive head coach that was pretty good.
I agree.
He was,
but I can't. I gotta see. I'm not going 6-6 to the championship game, but at the same time, yeah, it's Oklahoma. They reload and
sure.
But K-State has to be the other favorite, right, at this point, because they lose Deuce Vaughn.
But when you bring your whole offensive line,
they bring most everybody else back off the team that won the Big 12 championship. They have to be considered.
Things could still be going through Lubbock too.
What do you mean? Could still be? Has anything ever all gone through Lubbock?
I thought it went through
Except
Lubbock.
For to our great Red Raider fans, congratulations to Patrick Mahomes, NFL MVP, and Zach Thomas into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, how about that?
Hall of Fame, and I think that's a rightful spot for him. Was a great player for a long time in the National Football League. And I think that is also DeMarcus Ware. I didn't mention that in the headlines, but DeMarcus Ware into the Hall of Fame as well. The all-time sack leader in Dallas Cowboys history. 138.5 career sacks. Won a Super Bowl in Denver, Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos. He's going to Canton, which is pretty cool. Darrelle Revis, Rondé Barber, Joe Thomas. Your class of 20 and 23.
Didn't take Joe Thomas long to get in there, did it? Right when his time came. Time to go.
Well,
they're a great one.
It's one thing. I mean, you feel bad for kind of like Archie Manning back in the day. You can't help that you're good on a really bad team, and that's what Joe Thomas was. I mean, he was just.
Oh man.
We talk about the best ability is dependability. That guy didn't miss a game in 10 years. He never missed a game. He just lined up, played left tackle, played it at a high level, and he's going to the Hall of Fame rightfully so. But Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, 138.5 sacks over 12 years. Remember when it was the first year of the F1 race here in town, and we got to interview DeMarcus Ware downtown.
Like a kid.
Yeah, we were doing our show down on the street in downtown Austin because they had a big F1 fan fest thing going on down there, and we got to.
Or he was the nicest guy.
Super nice guy, super great guy. Senior inductees, by the way, Joe Klecko. That's a surprise.
The Jets.
New York Sack Exchange. He was a good player, not a Hall of Fame player, is he really? Joe Klecko?
He had to be one of the sack leaders of all time, right?
He was in Cannonball Run, wasn't he? Didn't he star in my favorite 80s movie or 70s movie, Cannonball Run, with Terry Bradshaw, Joe Klecko? Chuck Howley, the only Super Bowl MVP from a losing team, of course, for your Dallas Cowboys. And then cornerback Ken Riley.
Ken Riley from the Bengals.
And Don Coryell, not the AD at Texas State, but Air Coryell offense, the architect there. He and it's very safe to say Don Coryell, along with Bill Walsh,
yes,
really changed football with the passing game. And as we talked about yesterday on the midday show, we had Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett for a sit-down interview from Radio Row out in Arizona. And, they played in the heyday of running the football. Running backs dominated. And safe to say that Bill Walsh and then Don Coryell really pushed and ushered the change from a running league and a running sport to a passing sport. And now it's become a quarterback's league. But it was a running backs league for a long, long time. Those two guys largely changing the face of the game.
Coryell and utilization of the tight end.
Oh, man, Kellen Winslow.
Man.
And it was just the ability to push the ball down the field, right? Because so many teams for so long, and whether at college or pro or high school, subscribe to the old Darrell Royal adage that, you throw the football, three things can happen, two of them are bad. Incompletion or an interception. If one out of three, we're not doing that. We're going to run the ball, control the clock, play great defense. I mean, that was the way of football. And that's why, gosh, every Heisman Trophy winner for a decade was a running back.
That's right.
And that changed. And Don Coryell and Bill Walsh largely pushed that change from the professional level, at least. And now we know what we're going to see coming up on Sunday. It's a quarterback's league. It's run, but how about now? We have an ushering a new change, right? With Jalen Hurts, who is not just a quarterback who can throw it, but he can run it, and his ability to combine both has made them the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a quarterback's league, period. I mean, you can have all the defense you want. If you don't have that guy pulling the trigger, no good. Not going anywhere. If somebody else has a fantastic quarterback and a good defense, you got a real good chance of winning. You got a great quarterback.
That's right. Well, it's the number. It didn't used to be you could win with a game manager. Now, if you had Roger Staubach or you had Terry Bradshaw or you had, but even Terry Bradshaw completed 50% of his passes, right? They ran the ball with Franco Harris and played unbelievable defense with the steel curtain, and he'd push it down the field to Lynn Swann or John Stallworth. But it wasn't like today where you're dropping back, Tom Brady living in the shotgun and that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's changed, and those two guys, the architects of that. But yeah, it's the most important position in sports, which is why if you're a Texas fan, you feel pretty good about having Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning and a better quarterback room than you've had in a long time.
There's no doubt about that.
And then when you watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, consider that Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Eagles, wanted to be a Longhorn. Yeah, that's a true story. He wanted to be a Longhorn out of Channelview, Texas. And actually came to a camp that was held by Charlie Strong at the time.
What Charlie said, hey, you look like a really fine wide receiver. Tight end.
No, I mean, the story is pretty easy. He offered the scholarship to Shane Buechele.
Shane Buechele, that's right.
And Shane Buechele was out of Arlington, and, of course, his dad, Steve.
Took that deal.
And he took it, and, Jalen Hurts was happy to go off to Alabama, where he won a national championship and was a great player. And Shane Buechele came here, and they're both part of the Super Bowl because Shane Buechele is listed as the third-string quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, behind Chad Henne and Patrick Mahomes. So pretty cool. Pretty cool in that spot.
Got a chance for a ring.
He's got a chance for a ring. Both of them do. And that's pretty, talk about serendipitous. It's, full circle. Those two guys camped together. Both wanted to come to Texas. Texas offered one of them. Now they're both going to have a chance to win Super Bowl 57, which is kind of neat. And you are favoring the Eagles in that game.
Yes, by 4.
4 now.
Yeah, I had 6. No, I'm bringing that back to reality with the MVP. But now, the guy who's not the MVP on the other side will be out to prove something. So does he get outside the box or does he just play his game? I just think they have the better overall team.
Well, I am picking the Chiefs. I'm
Yes.
out on my island, picking the Chiefs.
I think A.J. Brown will have a huge game against the secondary.
Well, and the Chiefs know A.J. Brown pretty well from his time in Tennessee, and they'll have to corral him. And when he gets man coverage, he's a big problem.
Because they're going to throw it up. He's going to throw it up.
Yeah, and that run game, when they get running, and then they if you haven't watched a lot of, so many
I'm still
people,
taking Fortini as the MVP, my long shot MVP.
Kenneth Gainwell?
Yes.
Wow.
To have a couple touchdowns and a couple long runs.
Let's just go ahead and take Boston Scott.
No,
Come on, man.
Take him down the goal line.
But you're if the Eagles win this, Jalen Hurts is going to be the MVP, right?
Most likely, yes.
He runs it, he throws it, he scored more touchdowns than any quarterback on the ground ever.
Gainwell rushes.
Looks like Denzel Washington.
Say he rushes for over 100, and he has 2 scores.
Well, then he'll win the MVP.
There you go.
If he rushed for over 100, I'm going to be wrong. Chiefs are not winning that game.
No.
But I'm of the opinion that the Chiefs are more battle tested. I think the Chiefs are being.
Well, they've been to this game. They know what to do in this game.
Well, and even this in the last 2 months, they've played in more high leverage, high intensity fourth quarter games. That's my big question for the Eagles. They haven't played a close game, and they haven't been.
And the Chiefs may get treated like they're just one of those teams too.
Well, I mean, look, it's very possible that I'm dead wrong on this, and the Eagles are just that good, but not just because they're really good, but because of circumstance. They haven't been in a fourth quarter high leverage game in 2 months. It's February the 10th today. Last time they were in a game that was in doubt late, that mattered, was way back in December, because remember they were blowing people out. Then
they slapped the Giants.
They were 13-1. They were going to be the number 1 seed, and then Jalen Hurts got hurt, and Gardner Minshew came in, and they lost a couple games with their backup quarterback. They had to win Week 17 to secure the number 1 overall seed, but Jalen Hurts played in that game. But remember, that was the game where the Giants didn't play any starters, played all backup. So that game was kind of like a preseason game at some level as far as intensity goes. Everyone kind of knew what was going on. And then they had the week off. Then they beat the Giants big time because the Giants were no contest. And then they beat the Niners, who had no quarterback. It could be that they're just that good and they're just that physical. They have built this team that is a juggernaut. But I don't think, as you said, this will be a close game. This will be a game in the fourth quarter that is in doubt. And they haven't been in one of those in quite a while. And in the pressure of a Super Bowl, for that to be the question, I trust Patrick Mahomes and I trust Andy Reid more in that spot than I do, because I just don't know. I just don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to do.
Never been there.
Never been there. Neither is Nick Sirianni. Calling plays and running plays in this team. And they look the part, but man, that is fourth quarter close game. Give me 15. Give me 15. And you're giving me 4 points? I know the Vegas give me 1.5. You're giving me 4. I'm all in on that.
There you go.
We'll ask Lee Sterling his opinion on that coming up in our next hour. Also scheduled to talk to Chris Del Conte, a pretty good interview this morning, on the decision, or the announcement that it's official. Texas and Oklahoma are playing their final year and a half in athletics in the Big 12. What does it mean? And get Chris Del Conte's thoughts on it. Also preview that basketball game tomorrow. Texas and West Virginia, 11 a.m. from the Moody Center. Longhorns looking to come back home, get some home cooking, and start a bit of a streak here, coming off that loss to Kansas on Saturday. Craig Way will have his report. We'll have Salacious Gossip and your Blitz, all part of a busy Friday here on the Show of the People, 1049, 1019, AM 1260. And we're always streaming for you live and local and digital on your Horn app, on your smart speaker, and at hornfm.com. Callahan's General Store, folks. Always a good day to make it a Callahan's Day. It's right there on 501 Bastrop Highway. They're right between the airport and downtown. That new tollway there, 183. So it's all done. It's beautiful, easy drive. Zip off there at the Montopolis exit, and there you are at Callahan's General Store. They've been there since 1978. Going to celebrate their 45th birthday this year, and they're still locally owned and family operated like they have been all along. And that's what separates Callahan's from the big box stores where you can get supplies. But it's the people. It's the people. They're all from Central Texas. They source so many of their things in all of their departments from Central Texas. So you're buying local with local people. And again, family owned and operated. They are tremendous. So whether it's for your Western wear, the rodeo's about to fire up, get out there, get your boots and your hats and your Western wear gear for the ranch and the lease and all the things you need there. They've got that. Hardwares and housewares, and of course, everything you need to get your house, your yard, golf course ready for the spring. They're helping you with that, with the fertilizers and the seed, and that pre-emergent, the granules to get rid and get ahead of those weeds that always try to take over your yard come the spring and the summer, that crabgrass and the weeds. Get ahead of it now with the pre-emergent. Not only do they have what you need, they also have the people who can help you buy the right things, the amount for your yard, the application process, how it's going to work, so you walk out of there knowing exactly what you need to do at our friends at Callahan's General Store. 501 Bastrop Highway, right there, South 183, between downtown and the airport. Find out and learn more about them online at callahansgeneralstore.com. It's always a good day to make it a Callahan's Day. Hey, busy Friday. Chris Del Conte will join us coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll get his initial thoughts on the announcement made by the Big 12. It's official now. Texas and Oklahoma will be leaving for the SEC next July, July 1st of 20 and 24. We'll get Chris Del Conte's thoughts. Also preview the big weekend, including the Texas men's game with West Virginia tomorrow, 11 o'clock. You'll hear it right here on the Horn, 10:30 pregame as we get you cranked up. And I'll say again, I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't know the NFL Honors Show was last night, Buck. How do I not know this? I didn't see a promo. I didn't see anybody. Nobody told me. I love that show.
I saw one promo for it.
Did you?
Yeah, but that was early in the week.
Well, because I in my head I had made a plan, because typically it's been on Saturdays before the Super Bowl. It's been the evening of Saturday ahead of the game. And so in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, that'd be good. I'll watch the Texas game and get some work done on Saturday, get some chores done, and then I'll watch the NFL Honors. That'll be cool. And I missed it last night. I didn't get to see it. But if you didn't see it either, you missed Kelly Clarkson.
She has jokes. She
is a Burleson, Texas native, which is south of Fort Worth, right there on your way in up 35 West. Can we hear a little bit of Kelly Clarkson? She was wearing a 88 jersey, the blue on the silver and blue, the dark blue. And what do you call that dress she's wearing, Buck? That's
it's an ensemble.
It's an ensemble. What do you call that? It's like a 50s dress that gets wider as it goes to the ground, and I don't even know there's a name for that.
Don't shoot that down.
Yeah, she's got this big Dallas Cowboys dress. And here's what she had to say last night. She had some jokes for the crowd as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Did y'all know that there are playoff games after the divisional round? That's pretty funny.
She's a fan. She's got jokes.
I'm sad I missed the show. I didn't realize it was happening. I apologize. I should have. If I had known, I would have reminded everyone that it was that night. So let me see. Kelly Clarkson's 40 years old now.
Yeah, that was not a pantsuit.
No, that was a dress.
Yeah.
She's 40 years old now. So when the Cowboys last won a Super Bowl, she was, 13 years old.
Man,
she remembers. She remembers. Like you know that's quite an occasion here, Buck, for you and I, because we've been doing this show for so long. We now have a producer in Jack Farrell, who's here this morning, who was not born when this show began.
Man,
wasn't alive. We found that out yesterday. Jack Farrell is 22 years old, and our show is 23 years old.
He was not even around.
What year were you born, Jack? Do the math for me. Tell me when.
Year 2000. I'll be 23 in a couple weeks here in March.
Okay, so you're almost 23. So you were 2000, not 2001. Okay, all right, here we go. But yes, our show had been on the air for more than a year at that point.
Come on, Jack.
This guy says E. Hogan is a fake NFL fan because he didn't know about the award show. It's true. That's true. I didn't know. I like that show. That's why I'm disappointed. I like watching that show. I think they do a good job with it, and I like it's like their version of the Academy Awards. Who deserves the hardware? And Dak Prescott was named the NFL's Man of the Year. Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a community guy. I mean, he doesn't quite do much for his offensive staff.
No. Is that what he got the Man of the Year award for? Is getting his whole staff fired?
Getting everybody
Is that what you're saying?
Come on, man.
No, he does a lot and very involved.
He's a very likable guy. He is.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
He's gone through some adversity in his life.
Well, his brother passed away,
Yep.
and his mother passed away when he was in high school, if you remember, or college. Was it Mississippi State already?
I think he was at Mississippi State.
That's the thing about Dak that's frustrating, because you hate to criticize him, but you have to call it like you see it when you watch him play. But same time, when he was drafted by the Cowboys in the 4th round, and he came in and played so well early. I mean, we learned that he was a captain at Mississippi State when he was a freshman. Like he came in with these incredible, kind of like Sam Ehlinger was here, where he just had this natural leadership capability, the natural ability to connect with his locker room and his teammates. Well, and
it's hard to do now.
We know Sam Ehlinger had lost his father when he was a teenager, right? When he was a kid, and had to become the leader of his family and help his mom and his brother and his sister. And Dak has a similar story. And but again, you play to win the game. you have to be able to deliver in big moments, and Dak is not. But at the same time, as far as the character goes, the face of a franchise, saying the right things, doing the right things.
Oh yeah, he always has.
There's no question about that. There's no question about that. Which is the conflict for fans and even for Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones loves the player, and he always tends to fall in love with players. But is he good enough to lead you to where this game tomorrow or Sunday?
That dress is it's very fashionable. I do like the Cowboys colors in it. It's like a pup tent or something, sort of on the bottom, isn't it?
A pup tent?
Yeah. Like if you were
There's a name for that. You fashion people can let me know. There's a name for that type
I know
of
what
dress.
they want to name it. I know what they're trying to say, but we're not going to be like that.
No. You say what you're thinking. Don't put that on me.
Oh, really? Let me say what I'm
trying to think what the name of that dress is.
TP. A little bit.
Like a Native American teepee tent
Yeah,
thing?
Native American, kind of how it comes out at the bottom, like way out. I'm not saying she needs it to be way out.
Jack, can you help us with this? Do we know what the name of that dress is? Do you have any idea?
We get in trouble. You got to be careful because we get in trouble here.
I mean, it's like they're real tight dresses.
We don't want what you people think it should be called.
It's like a 50s dress.
I think like a hoop skirt is the closest that we're getting to.
Hoop skirt, okay.
Like round, like a hula hoop?
But it's not a skirt, it's a dress. It goes all the way to the ground.
Yeah, that like Victorian thing where they like
the
had
big
an
top at the
apparatus
circus
underneath.
Yeah, like the big top at the circus. Yeah.
Look at me, I'm not a fashion guy. Come on.
Yeah, somebody said
Ringling Brothers and Bonham and Bailey.
No, it was just a Cowboys dress.
Okay.
You can tell she had that custom made, right?
Had to, yes, for sure. Had to be custom made.
And no, it's not Ursula the Sea Witch. Come on.
It's like that old Browns jersey with all the quarterbacks like lined up on it.
Hoop skirt.
Players
Hoop skirt
down
has been made again.
Is that it? Hoop skirt? Is that what it's called? Not pup tent. Sorry.
Here we go. It says, I can't remember, refresh my memory. When was the last time the Houston Texans won a Super Bowl?
They haven't been around quite as long.
20 years. Compare the two franchises since the actual Houston franchise came online and tell me the difference. Nothing. Not a thing.
The dress is called a muumuu.
No, it's not. That's the name of that dress is ugly ass dress. It says muumuu. That's pretty funny.
Wow.
No, Kelly Clarkson, Cowboys fan, but we're having fun.
She tells jokes.
She tells jokes. We also have Texas and Oklahoma off to the SEC. Not a surprise, and we'll talk to Chris Del Conte about that coming up.
It is like kind of Gone with the Wind dress, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an older style dress,
Southern Belle dress.
Yeah. I'm going to find the name of it. I'm going to find what that.
No, we're not just going to call Kelly Clarkson that.
Poodle dress. That's good. I like that. Poodle dress is pretty good. Umbrella dress.
Yeah, but she can fit more than a poodle underneath. She can fit my Great Pyrenees underneath that thing.
It's a ball gown like Cinderella wore. That's true.
There you go.
That's true.
Thank you very much.
Ball gown.
Probably a nice young lady sent that.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Ball gown.
Get these people straight.
Well, just swing dress. Yeah.
It's not hot air balloon.
I love Kelly Clarkson. She won American Idol.
She did. I remember back in the day.
And now she's gone on to be the White Oprah.
She got it going on right now.
You know who else has a talk show? I didn't know this. Drew Barrymore has a talk show now. Did you know this?
He does?
Like an afternoon talk show. No, it's
He's not
she.
spinning.
It's a she.
Oh, Drew Barrymore. Drew, yeah.
Drew Barrymore from E.T.
Yeah.
Little old E.T. blonde girl.
E.T. phone home, yeah.
Yeah, she has a talk show. I didn't know this until I recently saw it.
That'd be horrifying.
Are they all replacing Ellen now that we don't like her anymore?
What do you mean we don't like her? She just told it like it was.
Ellen's a B.
People got mad at Ellen.
She's
tyrant to work for.
Come on.
As a low-level employee, I am against when the talent treats us poorly. Y'all
That's
don't
right.
do that, though.
We don't do that, do we?
I mean, come on.
Everyone here is very, very nice.
See?
They had to take a little bit of something. She wasn't giving any free rides. She made them work for it a little bit.
Driver.
Come on, man. Did you see her dance and do her thing? Dance for the audience? She had to try to learn how to dance. I mean, she gave it her best effort.
She could dance.
So she got a little upset at the crew every once in a while. And the crew, the manager, everybody else involved there.
Apparently, like, people all quit because she was so horrible to everyone. It's like working for, what was that guy's name? Bill O'Reilly. Remember Bill O'Reilly at Fox? Like everyone hated him because he was like this mean, angry person.
I know it's not like the morning crew that they were all banging each other.
Hey, whoa!
Or whatever that group was.
On Good Morning
Good
America.
Morning America.
That was the late edition of Good Morning
Wow.
America. Yeah, they've now been let go. Is that right? They're now gone? What is this, the Salacious Gossip segment? It feels like it. All right, we will get to Salacious Gossip. We'll also get to your Blitz, and this should be a fun Friday Blitz. We've got Kelly Clarkson in a hoop skirt. We've got Longhorns and Sooners off to the SEC in 20 and 24. We've got Chris Del Conte coming up after the top of the hour. Also in our next hour, Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. We'll see if he can keep his streak going. He's given us, 5 or 6 in a row on the over-under for the national anthem because his daughter's a national anthem singer herself and a great vocalist. He will help us out coming up at 9:30. Right now, though, it's our man Craig Way. Salacious Gossip is brought to you by Bud Light. That is your cue to load up the Blitz. That is right, 447-3776. With that right after we get you warmed up with some little entertainment news and gossip and things you'll be talking about at your Super Bowl party this weekend while you're enjoying some ice-cold Bud Lights, which happens to be the official domestic beer partner of the Texas Longhorns, the Texas Exes, and the Texas OU game, which we know this year will be the final matchup of Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12 Conference. Two of the founding members. That's going to be October 7th, Buck. October 7th. Now, they'll play again when they get to the Southeastern Conference, but this will be the last matchup of Texas and OU in the current Big 12. We now know that after yesterday's announcement. And, of course, those two helped found the conference and have had plenty of ice-cold Bud Lights and plastic. And what are they called?
The cans, right?
The cups? No. When you get these, the plastic cups there.
The red Solo cups?
No. At the fair, they're like.
Oh, the burnt orange.
They're like wax cups. They're like wax
the waxies?
cups. Yeah, and you stack them, get those ice-cold Bud Lights, and, man, there's something about that. I don't like to drink Bud Light in the morning that often, but when the game's at 11 a.m. and it's about 9 and you're at Fair Park and it's like Frank the Tank, that Bud Light hits your lips and, whoo, boy, Fair Park is on. Give me a corny dog and a Bud Light at 9 in the morning. That's good living right there. October 7th, get ready for it. And your Super Bowl party will be a good time to get a nice cold Bud Light as well. Hey, Buck, can I get you some NBA trade deadline?
Here we go.
This is pretty crazy. So, 28 teams, all 28 teams made at least one trade at the deadline. 54 players were traded yesterday, or this week. 54. And I would bet a large majority of them you've never heard of. I know you've heard of Kevin Durant.
Patrick Beverly and the likes, yes.
Have you heard of a player named Kem Birch?
No.
Who? Or Kern Birch? What's his name there, Jack?
Kem
Birch. He's a Spur now. Yeah.
Decent player.
Where's he from?
I think he's from Toronto. I think he was traded
You
from
have
his
no
hometown
idea.
team.
Good try, though.
How about Matisse Thybulle?
Thibault. Sorry, Matisse Thibault.
As in the thigh bone.
But Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba is now an L.A. Laker. We know him. How about that? Lakers bringing in Big Mo Bamba.
Nice.
Love that trade. 8 first-round draft picks were traded, and then a ton of second-round draft picks.
We're pretty set on the fact that we're talking football, so that Kelly Clarkson is wearing a ball gown.
No. I looked it up.
What?
I looked it up. It is what she was wearing last night at the NFL Honors is officially called a hoop skirt. Our man Jack was right on the money. Hoop skirt. Look up hoop skirt. That's what she was wearing.
The apparatus underneath.
Yeah, because it's got like a hoop at the bottom that makes it poof out like that. It's something structural.
She was not herself making it poof out. It's just structurally built like that.
No, that was not her. Come on, man.
What?
I don't think she would want it to be very form-fitting. That would be my guess.
Oh, okay.
So hence the hoop. Hence the hoop.
In this day and age, they're still wearing hoop skirts, huh? That's cool.
Well, just her.
Well,
I think
sorry.
I think just Kelly Clarkson. I don't know that that's like.
We'll go to sensitivity training.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's what my date to the prom looked like she was wearing.
Hey, McDonald's has been voted the worst place to take a date on a first date. McDonald's. You know where the actually it's voted the second worst. You know what the worst has been voted?
7-Eleven.
No. It's McDonald's' second worst place to take a first date. First worst is a movie. Never take your first date to a movie because you don't get to talk. You just sit and watch a movie.
Well, that's why I want to take her there for the first date.
Oh, you take an established relationship to a
Wolf
movie.
of Wall Street.
Hold on.
Not much said, remember?
Who'd you take on a first date to the Wolf of Wall Street where Leonardo DiCaprio is snorting cocaine out of some girl's rear end? What the heck were you doing?
I did that, though, yes.
First date?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of chatter y'all had, huh?
Oh, afterwards there was a lot of chatter.
Oh, hey now. All right, so that has been voted the worst place. And let's get to the Blitz. It's loaded because I also have this. Kate Winslet has finally weighed in on the viral conversation we've been having for years about the Titanic.
Is she giving in to that? She's finally saying she was wrong?
I'll read that for you coming up. But we got to get to your Blitz because it is loaded.
Here we go. First Blitzer, you're up.
Bucky and Baleos. Hey, this is just in from the Big 12 Conference. They said that when you two girls leave, as you're holding hands, skipping to the SEC, make sure the check clears and don't let the door hit you in the rear end.
Thank you. Next Blitzer, talk to us.
Coach,
Yes.
welcome back from your load management day off. And then also, Fly Eagles Fly 37-24, and Peppermint Patty better get ready because you're going to get sacked 7 times and going to have Sue and Cox in his face all night.
Oh, man. Next Blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, Longhorns have been tanking since 2010.
Jeez. Next Blitzer, talk to us.
Hey, Buck,
Yeah.
I'm going 31-21 Eagles.
Yeah, I got 31-27. Next Blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson, a big old girl. I don't even know though Howard Cosell got enough meat for her.
Wow. Next Blitzer, you're up.
This is Jared Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and after Jalen Hurts and the Eagles win the Super Bowl, remember I was the one who had the idea for the running quarterback in the NFL.
That's true.
Thank you.
No, it was your guy Barry Switzer that
Barry
recruited
Switzer.
the first black athlete. Remember
Yes,
that?
That's right. Next Blitzer, you're up.
Yeah, this is Harriet the Heifer. You know, I got no problem with BK taking me to Taco Bell and McDonald's back in the day. I don't know what they're talking about.
Next Blitzer, you're up.
Hey, did he say Kelly Clarkson was the fatter white version of Oprah?
Did
No,
not.
she's a white Oprah. That's all I said. Y'all are adding the words where I didn't say anything.
Always adding. Next Blitzer, you're up.
Hey, Dilly Dilly F Philly.
Dilly, Bud Light. Let's go to the
Nice.
top of the hour because we've got to talk to Chris Del Conte coming up.
Absolutely.
Eager to get his initial thoughts on the big announcement made by the Big 12 Conference, obviously, that affects Texas and the athletic department, which he runs. They're headed to the SEC as of July 1st, 20 and 24. We'll get his initial thoughts on that. All right, we'll be back. B&E with you. Chris Del Conte, Lee Sterling next hour, making prop bets and picks on the Super Bowl, just coming up Sunday.
Yes, I did dinner first and then a movie. I didn't just go to a movie first.
Oh, okay.
Dinner and a movie.
So I know.
I think you'll see it pop up on the caller ID. I don't know. Cool.
Oh, my God.
Still need that Land Rover and you have a Pluckers. I'll go, no, we're looking pretty good. Which one do y'all want to do?
Huh?
You have a Pluckers and a Land Rover?
What do you want?
I'll do Pluckers.
Bucky, you want to do that Land Rover next break?
Pluckers, folks, maybe you don't have a Super Bowl party to attend, but you want to get out to Pluckers and enjoy it there. Or, as we always tell you with Pluckers, you can have the Pluckers delivered to your house through DoorDash, and you have your own tailgate party. I mean, what about watching the Super Bowl? What's better than that? Pluckers wings? Are you kidding me? All the flavors, all the rubs, the best you can get anywhere, I promise you. They are the best. So whether you pick them up in store, which you can do, order ahead of time, or they'll deliver through DoorDash, just do it that way. Or get out to your favorite Pluckers to watch all the college basketball this weekend, the NFL, the Super Bowl, whatever you're doing, do it at one of the 8 area locations. You're going to love it. Now remember, make sure you download that Pluckers Club app as well to your phone. That's going to allow you to save your place in line, reserve your table virtually. It will also help you with savings and discounts. And when you become a member, get all kinds of cool things when you become a member of that Pluckers Club. Pluckers.com for all the details on that, the location nearest you. And always remember with Pluckers, if you don't like their wings, they'll give you the bird. B&A with you on this Friday. Super Bowl 57 is Sunday. But obviously the major developing news came down last night. The Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners now know they will be moving to the Southeastern Conference 1 year earlier than the officially contracted date. July 1st of 2024 is now the date according to the Big 12 Conference. The agreement is done with the other remaining schools in the Big 12, according to Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark and the TV partners. With that in mind, let's go to the Vaqueros hotline. Straight to it. He's on the line, the athletics director at the University of Texas, Chris Del Conte. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Hey, big development, big day.
Yeah, proud for everybody. I think this is, we knew we were going to the Southeastern Conference. I can't thank President Hartzell enough and Chairman Eltai for their leadership and helping guiding this process. You know, no decision at the University of Texas ever made in a vacuum. It's a complete team effort, and I'm just excited for our students, excited for our coaches, and for our great university.
Does this allow some clarity as far as, you know, how you proceed, scheduling and logistics and things of that nature, now that you know the date and the official, start date of this? And it did feel like near the end here that the new look Big 12, which will be when you guys move on, is ready to move on as well and become what they're going to be under Brett Yormark's leadership. Felt like this was the right time to make all this, final and make it clear.
Well, I think 24 just lined up well when you think about the 4 teams coming in the Big 12, the 2 teams coming in the Big 10, and then us joining the Southeastern Conference in 24 with a playoff expansion. It just seemed logical that would be the right time. And it just took processes. And like I said, Brent Yormark was fantastic, along with our partners in Fox and ESPN, everybody realizing that when the expansion took place, that the date of 24 made the most sense. And we just worked collectively to get to that point.
Chris, when you still have another year in the Big 12 Conference, the coaches in all sports have got to be totally excited about what the future holds for you. But leaving on the way out, there are a couple championships to be won, I got to believe, on the way out of here.
Well, let me run something. That's our entire focus. I'm really proud of our coaches, student athletes. We've won back-to-back Directors' Cups for being the very best athletic program in the country. We're poised to win a significant amount of championships in this year as well. And I think that's always our goal, is to not only win Big 12 championships, but to compete for national championships. And as I told our coaches and staff yesterday, hey, 24 is the date, but we got a lot of business in the next 16 months to take care of, and we got to keep our eye on the ball. Future scheduling, everything else will take care of itself in 24. But to now until then, we're a committed member of the Big 12, and we want to go out there and represent our great institutions to the best of our abilities. And yet we want to win championships. That's what we're all about. So I'm excited about that. But we're laser focused in the next 16 months to take care of business in the Big 12.
No question about that. And you mentioned the future schedule. I know there's a lot to be sorted out with that. But when you look at the current schedule that's been announced, the 2023 schedule is there. You're going to play BYU this year. You're going to have a trip down to Houston. You won't play West Virginia and Oklahoma State in football this year, which is rare. Are you happy with the way the schedule fell for the Longhorns? Bye week right in the middle of a 12-game season, which is good. Oklahoma right there on October 7th. Your thoughts on the 12 games?
You know what? You put out who you put out when you just go play. I think our student athletes look at it that way. We look at it that way. I think the schedule, and you add new partners that for the next 23 years. I mean, that's exciting for them. For us, we know what we have our task at hand, and no matter who we're playing on any given Saturday, they're coming for the University of Texas, and we just got to go out and play our brand of football, do what we need to do, and rise to the occasion, and let the chips fall where they may.
Chris, your thoughts on the maturity of your men's basketball coach and Rodney Terry and his staff, and through the turmoil how they've handled this, and through no fault of the kids, the way this mature basketball. Sometimes it's good to have some of these older dudes around when things get a little tight. And your thoughts on this basketball program and the head coach right now and his staff.
Well, this is just really a reflection of Coach Beard and how he built that staff and this team. Unfortunate situation, but when you go look at, you have 4 coaches on that team that were former head coaches that are still on the team today, right? So it's a really, really mature staff. We have a very, very mature, older basketball team, and they came to the University of Texas with the opportunity to win a championship. They're laser focused, and when you have a mature team and a really, really experienced staff, all the credit to Rodney Terry and that entire staff. But when you're older like this, you can withstand bumps on the road and be focused at the task at hand. And I was talking to Brock yesterday. Brock looks and goes, we both came in at the same time. He goes, hell, I'm turning 24 years old. I love that. When you think about these, we have a really mature team. They understand life. They have a different perspective than an 18, 19-year-old kid. And then you have a really, really mature coaching staff. And that's how it was built when Coach Beard came here. He had two coaches, Rodney and Ogden, gave up head coaching jobs to come here. We have Steve McLean, that was a proven head coach in his career. And then you have Bob, who was the 2020 Chinese Olympic head coach. So you start to think about who's on that bench. And then you think about that mature team with the last year of COVID on this team that we have transfers in. It's an exciting time, and I tell you, I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of Rodney for how he's galvanized that group and kept the ball moving in the right direction.
Yeah, they got a big game tomorrow morning. 11 a.m. will be the tip time at Moody Center. 10:30 pregame here on the Horn and across the Texas Radio Network. Safe to say you've been pleased with Moody Center and the home court advantage it's built and become. The vision was there, and now we're getting to see it on a game-by-game basis, certainly helping the Longhorns. The corral and the student section there has been impactful, and need as many as they can get there early tomorrow morning.
Oh, without question. I'm just super proud of our entire Longhorn family. They've responded in spades. You think about this year right now, we're completely sold out in baseball on a season ticket basis. Every seat sold out. We're completely sold out in softball. Every single seat sold out on a season ticket basis, the first time ever in our history. We averaged over 100,000 people every single home game this past year in football. When you look at the Moody Centers, completely sold out. It has been fantastic. Women's basketball is averaging almost a little under 5,000. Volleyball was sold out every game. The Longhorn family is second to none. We don't get enough credit for how passionate our fan base is. We don't get enough credit for how much they support this institution. They always talk about, well, no, it's not. Texas has the very, very best fans in the country. They prove it game in and game out. And just to see it right now is phenomenal. To see the Moody Center completely jam-packed. Our students have been phenomenal. The reconfiguration has helped tremendously. The success on the court has helped tremendously. But just the faithful, I just can't say enough good things about the Longhorn family. It's the very best I've ever been around.
Well, Chris, if I'm asking about the basketball team, I'm going to ask you about the football team and its direction and what it's been doing and Sark's ability to absolutely go out and recruit the best players in the country. I mean, there is no doubt about what kind of staff he has together. And this is a group, as I used to say about Mack Brown, you're talking a hungry dog off a meat wagon. This group can absolutely flat out and go into homes all over the state of Texas and all over the country and recruit these high-level football players. And this will be a year, as you get ready to walk out, be a great time to, I was a part of winning that first Big 12 championship. This would be a great year to go out and win that last one on the way out, for sure.
Well, and I just credit to Steve. I think when you look back in his first year here, at one point in time that year, we had 54 kids on scholarship. Let's not forget that 54 kids coming off COVID, coming off civil unrest, coaching change. I mean, we saw glimpses. We had Big Sam, and we lose Sam. Steve comes in. All the things that we had that year to try to get us to have a year. And gosh, we were so close to so many games. But I knew we had the pieces in terms of how he was going to construct the team. I remember when I was interviewing Steve, he goes, "I don't understand how your team has 18 wide receivers on scholarship and 8 offensive linemen." And I'm kind of looking at him going, "What are you talking about?" And I kind of went back and go, he had studied our roster. What's really cool about this roster, especially because football, we got big dudes on the offensive and defensive line now. I mean, I go to the lunchroom every day. I'm like, dude, hey, fellas, this is not a sizzler. It's all you can eat, my boys. And they just devastate the cafeteria. I mean, it is fantastic to see guys walking in. We have 4 guys that are not quite as big as Leonard Davis, but they're almost a close second. They're like lunar eclipses when they come in. It is going to be great to see them mature. By last year, our average age of our team was 19.2. Conversely, if you look at TCU's age, they're about 22.9. Well, it's like our basketball team is reversed. We have a really old basketball team. We had a really young football team last year. And now they have a year to get better. And then with the recruits we have coming in, I'm just super excited for Steve, for our fan base. And like we all know, the expectations of the University of Texas are to compete for championships. And I know that we have the building blocks to do so. So really happy and excited for what happens this fall.
Hey, Chris Del Conte is with us real quick. I know he's got to run, but in addition to Texas men tomorrow at 11, you got the Texas women against TCU tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. So doubleheader at Moody Center tomorrow of Texas basketball. You mentioned the baseball being sold out. David Pierce was with us yesterday and broke that news that they have sold out all season tickets, softball as well. One of the big questions we've gotten this morning, Chris, and I don't know if you can give us any details, but a lot of people asking about the Longhorn Network and what will happen. People get used to watching those baseball games and softball games in 2024. Is there a plan for how that's going to work and what's going to happen with it?
Oh, for sure. We'll be proud members of the Longhorn Network and partner with ESPN until the conclusion, until we enter the Southeastern Conference. And at that point in time, we will move all of our inventory over to the SEC Network, which will be fabulous for us. And then we'll retain all of our Longhorn Network historical games, and then we'll have a package for that as well, that everyone could always go make sure they watch that inventory as well. But we'll move over to the Southeastern Conference Network, and we'll supply everyone the same amount of games that we're currently on right now.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, that's a good piece of information. No, you got to get off at 9:15. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the conversation, and congratulations on getting this thing done. And now folks can make plans for future road trips and get ready for a busy baseball and softball season and see if these basketball teams can keep winning and stay in first place in the Big 12.
Thank you, Chris, for your time.
Appreciate you guys. Hook 'em.
All right, Chris Del Conte, quick visit. He had to bolt at 9:15, and there you go. Yeah, so that's interesting. The key words he said there at the end, Buck, that they're going to move everything to SEC Network, but they will have the same amount of inventory, which they carry every home baseball game.
Yes.
On LHN, and almost I think
going
all
up to the very
home
end
softball
of this
games
thing.
too. Well, they'll run it all the way through 24, but he said when they get to the SEC Network, they'll have the same amount. So we'll see. And as we said, there has been ESPN, is in control. This is when he said the alignment of the, 2024 is when the 12-team playoff begins. It's when USC and UCLA move to the Big Ten. It's also when ESPN takes over control and full rights of the SEC.
Right.
That's when their new TV deal, the mega deal, begins and kicks in. So Texas and Oklahoma obviously wanted to be in the SEC in time for that to kick in as far as revenues go. But ESPN takes over. There'll be no more, SEC on CBS. CBS is going to be phased out. This will be their final year, and it's going to be all ESPN. So ESPN also owns the Longhorn Network, and they run the SEC Network, right? So that would make sense. And there's been discussions that I've heard of, the SEC Network having like 3 hubs. One would be obviously the main hub in the middle of in Tuscaloosa there, or wherever they have the studios, and then Atlanta, and then Austin would become, the western flank of the SEC Network, and would have so you'd have almost 3 different channels to be able to watch different programming, like ESPN 1, 2, and 3. You'd have SEC Network 1, 2, and 3, and you could carry more games. And so we'll see. That'll be very, very interesting with the west of the SEC, the central, and the east, and that's essentially what they'll have, which will be pretty darn cool. With 16 teams. We know as of July 1st, 2024, the SEC will be 16. The Big 10 will be 16. My question is this, Buck, where will the Big 12 stay? Because immediately on that day, the Big 12 goes back to 12. They're going to play one full calendar athletic year with 14. But as we talked about when that schedule came out, it's almost certainly the only one of its kind. This will be the only schedule like it. But this is the next question for the Big 12. And Brett Yormark, I am predicting the pending collapse of the Pac-12, and I'm not the only one, that the current Pac-12 as it stands is going to be 10 when USC and UCLA leave. And there's a lot of upheaval going on right now.
Others will join, yes.
And George Kliavkoff is the current Pac-12 general commissioner.
For now.
Yeah, and the report was out yesterday that he was visiting with SMU, right? And this is not surprising because he is, by many reports, he's been given a vote of no confidence. Vote
of no confidence.
Yeah, by the like he's trying to get what George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, has negotiated is a deal that includes ESPN money and then Amazon for their media rights, right? And it's a kind of a dual thing, and the ESPN will carry some games, but then the rest of their football games will be streamed on Amazon. And that was the deal he worked up. Well, reportedly, 6 of the 10 teams remaining will not vote for it. They're no thank you. 4 are willing to, and you probably could guess who those 4 are. They don't have other options at this point, so they're willing to vote to stay. The other 6 are waiting to see what happens, and they aren't happy with it. That's the report that they also would vote for him with a vote of no confidence, and that's why you're hearing that he's talking to SMU and San Diego State and even Gonzaga as a basketball
They're
school.
just trying to keep that thing afloat.
Well, he's trying to look like he's being aggressive.
Right.
But, SMU's not going to move the needle. I mean, it's in Dallas, yes, but that's not going to save anything.
No.
So if that's true and these things are collapsing, this is again why the Big 12 was ready to move on from this. Get this thing settled. Let us make plans, because now the Big 12 can go be aggressive and they can
go after those Arizona schools and Colorado.
Well, and this is interesting to me because we know who's driving this whole bus. It's ESPN. It's TV. Fox and ESPN are in a battle for college football. And people have asked, well, how did Texas and Oklahoma get out of the Big 12 for $100 million? And that's the exit fees. Because remember, the initial reports is both schools were going to get $80 million plus to get out, and they're getting out for $100 total. Well, as we said earlier, that's because ESPN told them to. ESPN said, back down, we'll make this right. And that's where ESPN, there's reports this morning that the ESPN has pulled their money off the table for the Pac-12. Basically saying, you know what, you guys didn't sign the deal. Come back. Good luck with Amazon, essentially. So
the Big 12 is in a good spot.
Well, and that's right. So if the ESPN is indeed pulling the money off the table and saying, you know what, Pac-12, good luck with Amazon and whatever else you can find, well, that's going to even further destabilize the remainder of the Pac-12, and those other schools are going to be looking. And now the Big 12 is in a position to say, what?
That's not collusion. That's just reality for them.
Well, and it's reality that's what ESPN wants. ESPN would love, because they own the rights to the Big 12, right? They would love to see the Arizona schools and Colorado and Utah fall into the Big 12. So then the Big 10 is all Fox, and that's the SEC, and that's 16 teams. But ESPN would own essentially the ACC, the entire SEC, and then the Big 12, which would roll in, as we said, with the flanks of every time zone.
Right, gets in every time zone.
Yeah, now you're playing in the Western time zone, the Mountain time zone with Arizona State, Utah, BYU, then has a natural rival, Colorado with Deion Sanders, and the Denver market. Now the Big 12 is 16, the SEC is 16, and the Big 10 is 16, and now you have 4 power conferences. Essentially, the Pac-12, as we know it, dissolves. Likely Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and maybe one other fall into the Big 10, and it goes to 20 schools. But that gives a western flank to the Big 10, which helps out UCLA and USC for scheduling in other sports, not just football. And, Pac-12's out, Big 12's in, and ESPN is making that all happen. And that's why Texas and Oklahoma are allowed to leave with the exit fees where they were. And as the report said, even from Brett Yormark in the release, the $100 million is, a large majority of that is not going to come out of the pocket of Texas and Oklahoma.
Mm-mm.
It's going to come from future media revenue. So this is what ESPN wants. They're the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and they're making this happen. So Texas happy to be moving. I think the Big 12 with Brett Yormark at control, happy to try to grow from here and be what they're going to be. And we'll say see you later to the Pac-12 and Pac-10. And I think at that point, Buck, if they get to 16 and they add the schools I just mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just think about you could split it up to where you have a West and a Central and an East, just like the SEC is kind of doing. And, like Texas Tech, Arizona State, Colorado, BYU, Utah playing in the West. Central, obviously, is right through the heart of Texas with, TCU and Baylor. Houston's now into the conference. I mean, there's a lot to like about that conference, and I think it becomes the third conference. I think behind the Big 10 and the SEC, the Big 12 becomes the next power conference of the 3, even more than the Atlantic Coast Conference, which, they play everything and do everything in the Eastern time zone. But again, ESPN controls all of it, but the Big 10. So the power brokers wielding the power, as we say.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Clemson would have wished they got out of that deal.
Clemson? Yeah.
And Notre Dame is going to be joining somebody very shortly.
Well, that's always been the thought that they would have to.
How do they continue to just survive this deal?
Well, because they're Notre Dame. And again, why? Because the TV networks have promised them and made them whole, essentially. NBC saying we will.
She runs that show.
I just have to think eventually they'll fall into a conference, but it's Notre Dame. They like their independence, and my question for Notre Dame has always been this: that when let's say we end up with these 4 power conferences, right? Well, then how do you then schedule games? Can they, are they playing their normal Big Ten rivals? If Stanford and USC, who are their normal Big Ten rivals, roll into the Big Ten, which is likely.
You're going to be able to play them late in the season?
Yeah, I mean, do those schools still want to play Notre Dame? And that could be the leverage that those schools, like the Big Ten, would have to try to get them to commit to a conference. Is, we're not going to schedule you anymore. If you want to be independent,
they were going to play you in week 9, week 10?
TV would push for it because anytime Notre Dame's on TV,
Absolutely.
a lot of people watch. But that could be the leverage. But at the same time, everybody I've talked to say, Notre Dame's not going to budge.
Man,
you're not telling Notre Dame what to do. They value their independence over everything else, and they're going to try to stay that way and fight like hell to keep that. But we'll see. But we think we know where everything else is going, and it also is a reminder that this committee that put together the 12-team playoff and how it's going to play out. Notre Dame has a seat at the table. As long as Notre Dame has a seat at that table,
that's true. And the more the merrier for Notre Dame because they'll know they'll get in 2 losses. Whatever, 3 losses in a season.
That's correct.
Because of who they are, yes.
All right, well, that's the big news. It's official. Big 12 will play one more year. Only 1 year, the one-off with 14 teams. And then it'll never look the same again as Texas and Oklahoma will make their way. Thank you to Chris Del Conte. Get out to those basketball games tomorrow.
11 a.m., huh?
11 a.m. for Texas men, 4 p.m. for Texas women against TCU. Both teams are in first place in the Big 12 Conference. And as Chris Del Conte said and reiterated what David Pierce told us yesterday, Longhorn baseball season tickets sold out. It's just, whatever's left sold out for their home games, but they don't play a home game for a little bit. They start next week up in Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to play 3 games at Globe Life Field with Arkansas and who's the middle game? They play Arkansas and Vanderbilt Friday, Sunday. I'm trying to remember who the middle game is of that SEC slate. I'll look that up here during the timeout. We'll come back. When we do, we'll talk to Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Super Bowl prop bets. One of the best ones to play when you're enjoying your Super Bowl Sunday. Lee will be with us for his weekly Friday ahead of the Super Bowl visit on the other side. sir. Yes, sir. Friday on the Horn, B&E with you. Appreciate Chris Del Conte, Longhorn Athletic Director, jumping in on the day that the Big 12 has announced the agreement for the withdrawal of Texas and Oklahoma starting July 1st of 20 and 24. Good initial thoughts from CDC, and we appreciate him on a busy Friday. Also, the Super Bowl, of course, is coming up on Sunday. 5:30 is your kick time. All the festivities and commercials and fun that goes along with that will be rolling your way. Good luck at your Super Bowl party, and Buck, good luck with your halftime
Deviled Eggs,
show.
yes, my halftime show, my personal halftime show, yes.
Feeling good about that?
Feeling, you know what?
What do you do to get like stretched out, do a little yoga?
I got to get some real rest.
Get some real rest?
Yeah.
You and your
I'm gonna get
your wife?
I'm going to do an ultraviolet sauna on Saturday morning.
Oh, infrared?
Infrared, you're right.
Nice.
Restore cryotherapy wellness right there.
You're going to be
fired
up.
I need the circulation. I need everything circulating.
I only like this, and yeah, absolutely. Hey, let's get to the Vaqueros hotline. It's a every Friday before the Super Bowl feature. We talk to Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, normally just after 9 o'clock, but because we had the Longhorn Athletics Director, he was willing to move down to 9:30, and we appreciate him doing it. From ParamountSports.com, he is Lee Sterling. Lee, how are you?
I'm good. Good now. I'll be great if I win the Super Bowl.
There
a lot
you go.
on the line. Let me tell you something, guys. Even if you've had a great year, you lose the Super Bowl. I had someone one time, I'll never forget this, like 15 years ago, one of the greatest years I ever had. He calls to sign up for the next year, and he tells me he lost money. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He goes, I took all the winnings that I had for the year and bet it all on the game. Sad to say, and you got to play conservatively. I always advocate that, but the average person will play 2, 3, or 5 times their normal wager on the Super Bowl.
Why? It's the hardest game to pick, especially this a 1.5 line. It's a dead even game. Both teams are 16-3. Are you kidding me?
Well, Lee, the thing about it is you can get well in a hurry on that coin flip.
Ooh.
Or that national anthem. That's where you started out. You're already in the plus, because I'll be right in the plus on the tails call this year. I'm not going with heads anymore. I'm done.
I always did. You did tails never fails also?
I did.
You went out for the coin toss?
Yeah, I'm going tails.
Well, tails is 29 and 27 all time. So tails never fails except for 27 times. I mean, it's almost dead even, if you know what I'm saying. Lee, you always help with props, and you got to get to ParamountSports.com and get to you to get the pick on the game. But what's your feel of this game? What's your gut telling you? How do you feel this game will be high scoring, low scoring? What's your read of this game?
I got no real feel on the total, but on the game, usually I look obviously to the quarterback. Quarterback, most important player. We all know that. And also the head coach, Andy Reid, 28-4 as a head coach in his history when given an extra week to prepare. That's staring you right in your face. But this Philadelphia team, 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. Are you kidding me? They go 8-9 deep on the defensive line. They had 55 sacks here. Patrick Mahomes, for as great as he's been, has had trouble in the Super Bowls. Both of them combined 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. In fact, if you grade out his play, probably only one good quarter of the 8 quarters. So I think this Philadelphia team, and I can't say this too often, even in the Super Bowl, might be one of those rare teams that really has no weakness. Unless Jalen Hurts throws 2+ interceptions and they turn the ball over 3 or more times, I think Philadelphia is going to be the winner here. Something like 28-20, 28-24. So I'm going to stay away from the total. I think Philadelphia is probably the better play.
Wow. And there you go. And that's Bucky has been saying Eagles by 4 all week long. So here we go. Or you had 6, now you come back to 4. That's about where you have it too. Handicapped. Hey, Lee, you always help with the prop bets too. And I'm always eager to hear your thoughts on the national anthem, because you've told us your beautiful daughter has sung the national anthem many times, and she does the deep dive research on this. And I believe it's Chris Stapleton, the great country music singer, who's going to be singing it. Do we have an idea on the over-under of where this goes?
Okay, so here's what she says. She's won 8 straight. As you know, she's saying, like, for instance, the Orange Bowl football game a month ago. She really studies it and takes it serious. Now, she says it's a little bit tougher than normal because Chris Stapleton has not sang a national anthem for a sporting event that anyone can find. But she studied his voice, and that's her specialty. She said his phrasing, even though he holds notes for a long period of time. His phrasing before that last note has gotten a little bit shorter over the last decade. She said that she even said like air quality being a little drier in Arizona can affect someone singing. And she told me, she goes, Dad, I used to sing it like a minute 40, minute 42, and now I'm singing it like a minute 58 to 2 minutes and 2 seconds. She thinks he's going to be a little quick singing it. And let's look at, obviously, Whitney Houston is the gold standard. No one, I believe, will ever touch her rendition of the national anthem. But Idina Menzel, one of the best over the last 10, 15 years, and she has one of the true great voices in our generation. She sang it in 2 minutes and 4 seconds, going for her 9th straight winner over under national anthem. My daughter says Chris Stapleton will go under 2 minutes and 6 seconds.
Ooh, under Idina Menzel. Yep. Adele Dazeem.
Yep. Adele
We have that great soundbite from John Travolta. Hey, Lee, other props you like this weekend on Sunday that people can have fun with?
Let's look at some player props. Let's look at some player props. We're looking for value. Remember, when you do props, usually the juice is a little higher. In the game, it's usually minus 110 either way. A lot of these player props are minus 115 to minus 125. So don't play 40 or 50 props. You're probably going to end up a loser. I like Travis Kelce. I don't play who will score the first touchdown. I've had too many times I'll have a player tackle the 1 yard line. They'll throw a touchdown pass to the third string backup tight end. So I'd rather, if you're going to play who will score touchdowns, let's go with Travis Kelce to score a touchdown anytime during the game. Yes, minus 120. Kenneth Gainwell. So here's a third-string running back. They have the total of his rushing yards at 19.5 rushing yards. A lot of times they'll put him in a game on third down and keep him in for 3, 4, 5 downs. He is dynamic out of Memphis. He has really played at a high level as the season progressed. I have him pegged at 36, 37 rushing yards. I think that total is way off. We'll go over 19.5 rushing yards for Kenneth Gainwell, the running back for the Eagles. Also, Juju Smith-Schuster, 40 receiving yards. He went out early in the Chiefs championship game. I think he's going to be an integral part of their passing game in the Super Bowl. He'll catch, I think, 4, 5, 6 passes, I believe, and go over 40 receiving yards. And Philadelphia kicker Jake Elliott, over 7.5 points. I think he goes over that number. And let's talk some fun one, guys, here. What's your favorite flavor of Gatorade?
Me, I like the orange. I'm an orange fan.
Okay. What do you like, Bucky?
I'm an orange fan too.
Okay. So back in the day, is that from them only having lemon, lime, and orange?
That's all. That's
right.
all they had.
Yeah,
yes.
Lemon, lime, and orange. That's it.
in the glass.
That's right. Yeah.
You guys collect
absolutely
the football helmets.
That's exactly right.
The top. There you go. So here things have changed. Cool Blue is now the most popular flavor of Gatorade, followed by Fruit Punch, Lemon Lime, Orange, and Glacier Freeze, which is also blue in color. Blue has been doused on the head coach 3 of the last 4 years. A lot of people think if Kansas City wins, they're going to go with the red Gatorade. I think they'll have probably a blue Gatorade tank on each sideline here. Because the line is plus 400, I'm going with blue. Plus 400, and here's I think a really good cross wager bet. Toronto shooting guard Fred VanVleet, his number of points plus assists versus the Kansas City Chiefs total points in the game. Now, VanVleet averages 19.7 points per game and 6.5 assists. Here's the kicker. They're at home and they're playing against Detroit. So I just feel with Detroit's defense, which has, been atrocious. In the month of January, they gave up 120-plus points 7 times and over 135 points. Another 3 times Fred VanVleet points and assists versus Kansas City Chiefs total points. We're going to fly with VanVleet there.
I like that. I'll always love them, Lee. It's good stuff. How can folks get to ParamountSports.com and get your favorite picks of the weekend and have some fun, not just through the Super Bowl, but also NBA season. College basketball is hot. You got so much coming here between now and the next football season.
Yeah, what a season it's been. 19 out of 24 winning weeks in the football this year. You want to get my top play and my top 10 prop wagers, just $97. We've won 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Each of the last 5 Super Bowls, we've had a winning record on our top 10 prop wagers. Also, UFC 284. It's trending to be the most watched UFC event ever. You can get our top 10 selections there, just $47, including a max wager 50-unit selection. How about this? We won 11 straight days in basketball, including a 3-0 day yesterday. You want to hop on board? Just $3.97 through the NBA Finals in mid-June. Just one place, ParamountSports.com. And why don't we reconvene the Wednesday before March Madness? And who knows? Maybe Texas and Miami, Final Four. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
That's awesome, Lee. I love the Gainwell deal. I like him a lot. I think that's an easy play. And Pacheco, you know how many screens they're going to throw to that guy, and he's going to take off and go with that Eagles defense coming at him.
Yeah, the pass rush.
Wow.
Yep.
I like those two a lot.
I like it. Hey, Lee, appreciate it. Always great. And we'll talk right before March Madness and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lee.
ParamountSports.com. Yeah, you have Kenneth Gainwell as your dark horse MVP.
Yes.
Well, I thought what Lee just said is exactly right about Gainwell, and that's why, he's their third down back. He's their third back. But then on third down, they put him in a lot, and then they go fast.
Yes.
So they get a first down, and then he's still in the game.
You're right.
Because they don't want to change personnel. And then he ends up with a couple of carries. Yeah, if his over-under rush total is 19.5 yards.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got that in him against that defense.
No. Well, I'll say this. You start making some of these props, and then you're just so glued to the game. You're like, come on, give him the ball. Give him the ball.
Get that guy the ball. Come
Get
on.
That ball. Oh, man. So good. So good. But that'll be fun. That'll be fun. If you don't have a rooting interest, you don't root for either of these teams, or maybe you hate these teams, this gives you something to root for. I saw this where you could do a prop bet on the brothers Kelsey that will Travis have more receiving yards than Jason plays snaps, right? Because Jason's the starting Pro Bowl center. He averages about 67 snaps per game. That, if he doesn't get hurt, that goes into the number of plays run by the Eagles. And then you got to do the math. And will Travis Kelsey have more than that? Probably, right? Travis Kelsey's going to.
Travis Kelsey, I'm not counting him out. I'm never betting on the light side with him.
He'll go over?
Yes.
Love this game, man. I love this game. You're taking the Eagles. Lee's taking the Eagles.
Yeah, I like 31-27.
Jack Farrell, our producer, is taking the Eagles, I believe. I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm going to run with the Chiefs. When there's this much popular opinion on one side, I tend to go the other way. And I could be wrong, but, man, I'm not doubting 15. I'm not doubting Andy Reid. I'm going to ride with it.
Pacheco, 16.5 receiving yards. That's one screen for that dude.
This is, I agree with Bucky. Tails is going to hit 500 on Tails.
Oh, no, I'm never going that far. I like to be up early, but.
Does that mean if I said I'd taken heads, everybody go, you don't know what you're talking about? It's a 50-50 bet, y'all. What are y'all talking about? Like there's some known commodity coming here. I've got the Chiefs. You got the Eagles. We'll be back. B&E on the Horn. There you go. Kelly Clarkson with the hoop skirt last night, chiding the Cowboys for their lack of playoff success in her lifetime. That's not true. They have won some Super Bowls since she's been alive. 3 of them, actually. She was there at the NFL Honors where Dak Prescott. Congratulations to Dakota. He was named the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year. They call it.
That means a lot there.
It's the most prestigious award of the night. It's the final award they hand out. And Patrick Mahomes, your MVP, by a landslide. I thought it might be a little closer, but that's 48 of the 50 first-place votes. You also had Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year, rightfully. Coach of the Year, Brian Daboll of the New York Football Giants. And congratulations to Austin's own Lake Travis High School's Garrett Wilson, drafted in the first round, number 10 overall, and now wins Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. His teammate Sauce Gardner, who also was taken in the top 10 out of Cincinnati, he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. So
pretty good foundation, isn't it?
Pretty good draft for the Jets. If only they'd gotten that damn quarterback thing right.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll acquire Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But yeah, to have the Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year drafted picks 5 and I think 4 and 10. They also took Breece Hall right ahead of the Texans in the second round. He's going to be a heck of a player.
It's like Derek Carr is going to end up in New Orleans, I still believe.
I think so, too. I think he was there visiting, and, of course, we told you no team was allowed to talk to Derek Carr until they worked out compensation with the Raiders. So the fact that the Raiders and Saints have already agreed on what it's going to take, and he's already meeting with them, I would guess that deal might get done, but the NFL doesn't want them to announce it until next week. Don't, take a headline away from the Super Bowl or honors show or any of that. Wait till Monday or Tuesday and make that official. But that would be a nice pickup for the Saints. So that was the NFL. Also, the Hall of Fame was announced with DeMarcus Ware, the Cowboys all-time sack leader, going in on his second ballot. I thought that was pretty cool, and only the second time ever that of the 5 slots voted on or elected or selected, 4 of them defense.
I have never
Rodney
done
Barber, Darrelle Revis, and
I've never done the national anthem. I'm going to do the under. I've never done it before.
Well, I love Lisa, and that's 8 in a row that his daughter's gotten.
Yeah, I'm going. Her history's pretty good, I think.
I do kind of like her saying that when she first started doing it was shorter than she's done more of them because she gets comfortable. Chris Stapleton doesn't do the national anthem that often.
He wants to get this over with.
Like he might. I don't want to say he's going to be nervous. He's Chris Stapleton, but it is the Super Bowl. It is the national anthem, and a lot of eyeballs on that and doing it right. I bet he.
Goes quickly, yeah.
Under 206.
Yep.
Under 206. All right, and you like Kenneth Gainwell for your dark horse? I do like the plus MVP. Him to have 19.5 rushing yards or more. All right, I'm on the Chiefs. You're on the Eagles. Who's your MVP?
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
I'll take me homies, obviously. I'll take my homies. Hey, everybody, have a great Super Bowl weekend.
Be careful, please, y'all.
Appreciate Chris Del Conte jumping in on the day that it's official. The Longhorns will head to the SEC 1 year early, 2024, and all that comes with that. We'll have more on that into the next week. Also, good luck to Texas basketball tomorrow. 11 a.m. tip with West Virginia on the men's side. Women are 4 o'clock playing TCU at the Moody Center, so doubleheader of Texas hoops. Super Bowl is Sunday. Buck, have a good one.
You too, E. Have a good time. You guys, Jack, be careful out there.
Hey, enjoy the deviled eggs, okay?
Oh, it's going to be special.
Jack, great job. Everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Super Bowl party, and we'll talk to you Monday, 6 a.m.